You damn right. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. NFL championship games coming up. Longhorns get a nice win on the basketball court last night. Always football to talk about. Longhorns make it official with that wide receivers coaching position, and we will get into a whole lot more today at 12:45. Longhorn fans, Aggie fans, heck, TCU fans, you just made the playoff. Let's throw you into that. We'll get you the latest in the keeping up with the Joneses of college football in the crap bag today. It's Chad and Zay on this Wednesday. I'm Chad Hastings, joined once again by Isaiah Collier. What's up, Zay?
I don't think Horned Frog fans are getting over that 65-7 loss still. Like, it still has to hurt. Like a bad bruise that sticks with you for months and months.
We've all had to eat tough losses as a fan of a certain team. I don't ever remember one like that, though, in a championship environment. You know what I mean? I could tell you about some bowl games my team has lost and lost convincingly, but it was never for those kind of marbles. It was never for those kind of things.
Hell no.
Wow, 65-7. By the way, that reminds me, I was checking out the YouTube page because if you don't realize it, we have been on Twitch for a while, and also you can go subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/@thehornaustin to check out the shows. We're going to be putting little clips on there. Our man Jacob, our digital guru, Jacob is going to be helping us out, and you're going to be seeing all kinds of stuff on there. And there's a little digital short still on there of our man Ty Henderson, producer of B&E and self-proclaimed betting expert, telling you to take TCU in the points. Defiantly telling you and predicting.
T.Y.
And not just that, predicting the outright win for the Horned Frogs.
Damn, T.Y. Well, probably wasn't his best bet. But,
Probably not.
I've heard him on B&E. He does well.
No, he does pretty
bounces
well.
Back.
He does pretty well.
Yeah.
Does pretty well. So definitely check that out. We are on YouTube. So for those of you checking it out on YouTube, Twitch, we appreciate that. Obviously, those of you that are streaming at hornfm.com, you've got the Horn app. Take us with you wherever you go. We do appreciate it.
Yo, Chad, man, I ain't going to lie. I got to thank TCU because they were a huge help in my mind of getting A.D. Mitchell to the University of Texas. He saw that competition in the championship game and said, man, if I could do this in the SEC and I could do it to the best in the Big 12, I should be all right in the Big 12, even though the Horns will probably be there one more year. So, yeah, he saw that and said, I could do this against them. I'm going to be all right in the Big 12 when I get to the 40 acres. You dig?
I'll take 1 year of that.
Yeah, I'll take 1 year of that.
I think getting better, getting healthy, get the stats pumped up a little bit.
Yeah,
and
have
then,
my baby girl see me catch touchdowns at DKR.
Yeah, and then if he wants to, I guess he could then hang around for, he's got 2 more years of eligibility, right? So he could hang out for the first, we all hope, the first year in the SEC, if they can really get that done for 2024. And then he'll get to see some of his old friends. But also, you'll get whatever the scheduling Texas is going to have. And, of course, speaking of that wide receiver position, we'll get to that wide receivers coach for Texas. Also coming up at 12:30, Mel Kiper, thinking like Isaiah Collier. It is happening. It is already starting to happen. So you're going to want to be around for that. But first off, let's start with this Texas basketball team. They got a nice win over Oklahoma State. 89-75. They're now 17-3. They're 6-2 in conference play. Zay, yesterday you asked for click on all cylinders, multiple players playing well at the same time. As I'm watching this game, I thought this might be exactly what Zay was asking for. Did you get everything you wanted out of that game?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved what I saw with the Texas Longhorns men's basketball team last night at the Moody Center. Again, the Moody Center has been popping all year long. It's a huge difference and just being a home court advantage that the Horns haven't had in a very long time. Well, maybe ever, because we know what the Irwin Center brought to the table these last decades and decades. But yeah, like I said yesterday, you just want this chemistry to be on the up and up, especially with this very tough schedule that you got coming up. These next 4 games might tell what the whole season's about. It might show you what the Horns are really going to be about when March comes around, because it doesn't get much tougher than the next 4 you got. You got College Game Day in Knoxville with Rick Barnes' crew. They're the best defensive team in the nation.
Yeah, I saw that last night.
In the nation.
Uh-huh.
They got shot blockers. They got guys that can move their feeds. Zakai Ziegler's an absolute dog. So Rick Barnes' crew, they're pretty PO'd from how the last season went for them, a second-round exit. They were looked at as a team that could have won it last year. Again, they're looked at as a team that could win it this year. So they want to avenge what they looked like this past or last season. While the Horns, after that, it's kind of like a March Madness setup. So in a way, it's a good thing, even though the schedule's so tough, because with those 2 back-to-back games with only 2 days rest, you play Tennessee on Saturday, you turn around big Monday, and Baylor comes into town.
Mm-hmm.
So if Coach Terry and the coaching staff, they got to get this team in the mindset, hey, this is what the NCAA tournament is going to be like. Once you play a good team and you advance, you got another good team 2 nights later. And you got to be prepared. They got 2 of those in the upcoming weeks. They got to go in Manhattan, and they got to go to Allen Fieldhouse, Kansas State and Kansas, the same type of thing. Back-to-back, only a 2-day window. Brutal. So what we saw last night, I loved it. Marcus Carr, you can't say enough about him, what he's been doing on the court, the confidence that he has, the confidence that he brings to everybody else. I mean, just the dribble handoff, threes that he takes, you see the confidence there. The move that he had, one dribble, he had a move last night. I'm stuttering on my words just thinking about it, because it was an amazing move. And for somebody of his stature, you don't see guys making a catching the ball, taking one dribble, getting to the cup, and shot a nice little floater for and one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not Kevin Durant. You see guys like KD and Giannis do that because they're so long, and plus the NBA gives you an extra step. They're able to get to the rim in one dribble. But for Marcus Carr to gain that much ground, it just shows the improvement that he's had year 1 to year 2 here at the University of Texas. So just that confidence. Timmy Allen, all 5 buckets that Timmy Allen had yesterday were all jumpers. Like, that's the confidence that he needs. That's the confidence that he has to ride with if this team wants to get to where they want to get to. When they played against Oklahoma State last time, Oklahoma State had a lot of blocks that game, 12. So you can't go inside like you did last time. Oklahoma State is a really good defensive team, top 10 in the nation. To put 89 points on them last night, very impressive. I thought Marcus Carr and Timmy Allen led the way, but then you got the Westlake alum, Brock Cunningham. If he's going to give you 15, if he's going to shoot the ball like that, and shout out to Coach Terry, putting him at the 5, Timmy Allen at the 4, Tyrese Hunter, Sir'Jabari Rice, Marcus Carr, those guys were the main ones to finish the game. You're starting to see different lineups depending on the matchup. I saw West Virginia. You had Christian Bishop and Dylan Dessou at the same time during that point in the game. Chris Beard never did that. He never had Dylan Dessou and Christian Bishop in at the same time. It drove me crazy.
I know a lot. I know it drove you, and a lot of Longhorn fans would notice it too.
It doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you do that? Some of the best big men are in this league. You maybe could have done that a little bit more against Iowa State when you're playing against Osunahi, somebody like that. So just messing with different matchups for Coach Terry, starting to figure out what fits. I thought the freshmen played well last night, even though they had limited minutes. Dylan Mitchell had 2 nice little putback layups in the first half. Arterio Morris had a nice little drive that got him to the line and played some good D at spots. So, yeah, if everybody is clicking, like I said yesterday, with these 4 games that you have coming up, you need that, and that might determine what this season is really going to look like.
So if you want to jump in today, the Specs text line is always there for you, 337-3776. They tell me what you think of this one. It says, I don't know what it was, but last night was the first time I felt that Terry looked like the Longhorns head coach. He looked more comfortable. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
Maybe a crossroads, a kind of, a crossing a boundary line kind of game, trying to take that role officially and make it feel like his own?
Yeah, and they play hard for Coach Terry. That's the number one thing. They play hard for him. They're still very enthusiastic. Everybody's into the game. Tyrese Hunter, his morale and his just upbeat energy is a lot better than what we've seen in recent weeks. He hit a big three last night, which is kind of like a relief for everybody just in clutch time. He only had 5 points, but that three was huge because his shot has not been falling. He's shooting in the low 20s when it comes to three-point shooting. So he needs crazy confidence going into this late stretch. He didn't have a cramping issue, at least I didn't know he didn't. I didn't see no cramping issue out there for him.
I was going to say, I think the most important number in this game might be his 31 minutes.
Yeah.
Because now his body feels what that's like to get there, the training staff. And we talked about it. We've tried to be as respectful as we can. It's not like anybody's ripping on Tyrese Hunter and saying he's, there's any weakness to it. It's just certain guys deal with those issues more than others. He and the training staff, bravo for one night because they got that figured out. Hopefully that is not an issue moving forward because the other thing, Zay, not only does that make you and Longhorn fans feel better when Tyrese Hunter can go the stretch like that, we've said it all year, but how much better does Carr look when Hunter's on the floor with him?
For sure.
It's totally different.
Totally different. And even though Tyrese Hunter hasn't been playing well as of late, teams are still focusing on him. You have to. He's just too quick. He's starting to make plays for others. We saw in the West Virginia game him making plays off the dribble, throwing those alley-oops to Christian Bishop. He had a couple of plays last night where he was making plays for others. So you need that from him. His defense was good. Marcus Carr, we talk about his scoring a lot. His defense has been solid as of late. Him getting steals. Him and Dylan Dessou did a good job of double teaming the ball or guy coming off a ball screen at the top of the key, which led to a steal, which led to a Marcus Carr layup. And Dylan Dessou, he's starting to play well on both sides of the ball. He had a huge block last night that it came off as a jump ball. Great play by him. Love just the energy that he's bringing. He's starting to be more confident and not worry about getting hurt. I think last year he was in his head a little bit about, how strong is my knee really? Is my knee back to normal?
Right.
Can I do what I did at Vanderbilt in the SEC? And in year 2 here at Texas, I think he's finally comfortable and confident in his game. Solid 12 points last night. Nice little up and under layups and, just middle of the key jumpers. You need everybody if you want to make a deep run in March. That's what we see every year. This past year with Kansas, Remy Martin came off the bench for them, gave them a huge spark. When Ochai Agbaji and Christian Brown weren't moving, what Kansas do and Bill Self do? They gave it to David McCormick, and he would get you buckets. So just seeing a little bit from everybody game by game, you got to love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to see here. When you look at the stat sheet, every Longhorn that played scored if things spread out a lot. And back to Tyrese Hunter, there was a play where he had a guy right in his face, close enough to smell his breath, and he was able to muscle over a pass to the right wing to Cunningham for what ended up being a nice wide open three, and he knocked it down. And so Hunter was able to kind of take that traffic and deal with it. And like you said, making other guys better, finding other shots for guys. Dessou and Allen together, 10 of 21. You mentioned Timmy Allen's shots, the 5 that he took. None of them were threes. He's figuring out that mid-range and where he should be shooting.
None of them were layups either.
Right, yeah, exactly.
They were all mid-range jumpers.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I, as an old man that's been watching a little basketball for a while, I do love a mid-range. I love a 15 to 18-foot jumper when the guys can knock them down. It helps to just fill in all those gaps when you can't be a layup and when it doesn't need to be a three. Just there's a whole lot of court there that sometimes teams don't utilize. I like the way Allen thinks about that, and Dessou. I thought that was pretty good minutes from Dylan Mitchell. We talked about how he was kind of invisible in the last game. He just really wasn't there much. He was a little more present last night. And overall, that's a really nice performance. Let us know what you thought. Were you at the Moody Center last night? It certainly showed up again. In fact, the credit I'll give Texas is this game to me, it was not as defensive and ugly as game 1 in Stillwater. That was a bar fight. This one had a little higher level offensively, but it still felt the same to me where Oklahoma pushed it to maybe it was 6 or 4, back up to 8, down to there, back up to 10. And the Longhorns weren't blasting them by 20, but they had firm control. There was a moment, Zay, in the second half where Oklahoma State was taking some free throws, and the Moody Center realized it could kind of take a breath. and they weren't going crazy. And I thought, if you just looked at and heard that individual moment, you might think, oh, the Moody Center's not, well, maybe it's not. No. They just knew their team had control.
Yeah, there was a 4-minute stretch in the second half where the Horns, they didn't make a field goal. And then Sir'Jabari Rice caught the ball on the wing, and he had a guy right in his face. It was so disrespectful, and he just pulled it. And I was like, oh, wow, what a shot. Nothing but net.
Yeah.
And that's just the confidence that everybody's starting to get on this squad. If Tyrese Hunter gets a little bit of more of Marcus Carr's offensive confidence, Sir'Jabari Rice confidence, then this team is going to take off. But that 4-minute drought, then Sir'Jabari Rice hitting that three, like you said, just every time Oklahoma State would get close, Texas would strike back. And they expanded that lead then 52-41. And at that point, it was like, okay, the Horns, they got this in the bag. So when you shoot 50% from the field, 61% from three, the statistic I always throw out there, if you make more free throws than the other team shoots, the Horns made 23, Oklahoma State only shot 20. That's key to success right there. And you don't like the 18 turnovers that the Horns threw out there, but you got to understand Oklahoma State, top 10 team in defense. So to put up 89 on them, look at that more than looking at the turnovers. They're going to address that. But going into this 4-game stretch, you got a very good best defense in the league team with Coach Barnes' Tennessee squad. They will get after you. They're playing at home. They're going to have those fans, with them. Other guys got to step up. It can't just be Marcus Carr. You got to love what Brock Cunningham did last night. Dylan DeSue with his 12. Got to keep that up.
We will talk more basketball, obviously, on the Texas side of things as we move along. We're going to have our normal Wednesday guests coming up at 105 and 205. Justin Wells of Inside Texas at 105. Talk some Cowboys with him. He's a sad Cowboys fan like me and a lot of you this week. Chip Brown of Horns247.com at 205. We'll get his thoughts on a little NFL, but also we'll get both of those guys' thoughts on Chris Jackson. It was made official last evening. Texas sent out the official word that Chris Jackson is no longer the receivers coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is going to be the receivers coach for Texas. We were talking about some of his connections yesterday, Zay, the California guy, and Sark had a connection with him through Mater Dei, that Jeff Banks had a connection with him through Washington State, where he was a wide receiver, and he did spend a little time in the NFL, also Arena League. But you brought up a little bit yesterday of what he did in Jacksonville. I think it's and people are looking for, what's he done? What's on the resume here? I think what he's done for those receivers in Chicago and Jacksonville, that's what you hope he can translate if you're a Longhorn fan. He was initially in 18. He started out with the Bears. Chuck Pagano would have been the DC there at the time. And he helped names like, and these aren't the biggest names in the league, but he helped names like Allen Robinson be one of the best Bears receivers, second straight season with over 100 catches. He had 1,200 yards. Darnell Mooney, first 1,000-yard season with Jackson around. And then you've been bringing it up all season, what Christian Kirk and Zay Jones are doing in Jacksonville. Both caught 80 balls or more. Only 3 NFL teams had that this year. Christian Kirk had 84. Zay Jones, and he's the Austin High product, right?
Correct.
Zay Jones. He had 82 catches. Both of those totals were in the top 10 Jacksonville single-season history mark. And so a lot of numbers there. Kirk over 1,100 yards, 800 yards plus for Zay Jones. So Chris Jackson will be the new receivers coach for Texas, and that's what you got to hope, that the whole room develops and you start to see some of the best seasons out of these guys. He's already done it at the pro level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really good get. He's relatable. And when you come from the NFL like he has, like fresh out the NFL, you know what it takes to get guys there. When you come to the University of Texas, hell, if you go D1 in general, all these guys, their expectations when they leave college is to go to the league. So bringing in guys that have been there and done that and have coached guys like that, they might not be household names, but they are very respectable players in the National Football League, like a Allen Robinson, like a Christian Kirk, like a Zay Jones. Like Zay Jones, he's about to get in his 30s. It's hard to be in the NFL for over 3 years. They call it not for long for a reason. So guys like Xavier Worthy that are trying to get to the next level, even Jordan Whittington, I think he has a chance to get to the next level, depending on his health and depending on how Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers look with him this season. Let's get him some more touches. They underutilized him this past year, but we talked about it yesterday, and we're going to continue to talk about it. That wide receiver room, it's deep. So if you're Chris Jackson, you got to be excited coming to this wide receiver room and seeing what you got, on the roster, and then putting that on the field, because there's a lot of talent at Texas, and just the wide receiver position. I'm glad Brendan Marion's moved on and at UNLV, and I hope he does well, but they underperformed this last year, and the talent's just too good to have that happen again.
Yeah, it needs to be better. Obviously, it's a passing college football. You got to be able to do it effectively, and certainly the way Steve Sarkisian wants to do it. By the way, listeners always keeping us straight on the Specs text line. Burnt Orange Yeti reminding us, just to clarify, Sark didn't go to Mater Dei, but one of his kids did. So that's part of the connection there with Chris Jackson. So thank you for clarifying that. I didn't mean to insinuate that Sark himself had gone to Mater Dei, but there's a connection through Mater Dei through one of the kids. So.
And the Jeff Banks connection, correct?
And then there's a Jeff Banks connection. That was at Washington State, I believe.
When he was a player.
When he was a player, and he would have been – I didn't – this is a weird connection for me because I do remember this team. When Ryan Leaf and Washington State, 97 I believe it would have been, when they went to the Rose Bowl, he was one of Ryan Leaf's big-time receivers.
Huh.
And Ryan Leaf in college, man.
Oh, yeah, he was good.
There was a legitimate, for real, I know nobody believes it now, but, dude, that discussion about him or Peyton Manning, it was real.
Yeah, it was real.
There were plenty of people that do what Mel Kiper and others do for a living saying, I think I might go Ryan Leaf. I think that might be the way to go. Man, Ryan could spin the ball now.
I mean, Peyton's first few years in the league, there was nothing to write home about. Wasn't like he was lighting it up. He threw a lot of interceptions those first few years, and once they started getting guys like Edgerrin James and Reggie Wayne started getting more acclimated, and Marvin Harrison, those connections there, that's when Peyton really took off.
Yep.
So gotta have guys around him. I can't name many of Ryan Leaf's wide receivers first years in.
There's that part of it, but then there's also the demons that got Ryan Leaf, and he's been very upfront about all that stuff, but he ended up with, drug and alcohol problems through the years, and he's, come out of it clean on the other end, but boy, he went through some rough times.
Was it just the pressure that got to him?
I think that was part of it. I mean, the famous thing in the locker room where he's yelling at media members and stuff.
Oh, that's gold.
Yeah, that's one of the most famous ones out there. But Chris Jackson would have been one of his receivers at Washington State. Now, Longhorn fans, Chris Jackson is your wide receivers coach. The big question I would have if I'm a Longhorn fan is just, how's the recruiting going to go? What's it going to look like there? Feels like he's going to get you one of the big things you've needed, development in that room. We need to see that on the field. So now the added part is, okay, California guy, played in the league, Arena League, not a lot of thick Texas connections. What's he going to give you there? Is he going to be able to get those good relationships going? But that's the first quote they have from him, Zay, in the story the university put out. He's focused on the relationship with these kids. They asked him, why would you do this? Why would you go from the NFL to college? And that's the first thing he said. That age group is interesting to me, 17 to 22, very important time in their lives, and I can help develop them as players and men. That's important to me.
Yeah, some guys like that teaching process.
Yes.
Some guys just,
Absolutely.
There's something about it, like Nick Saban. He probably had a very tough time trying to get across those Miami Dolphins players because they got families, they grown-ass men. It's just a different type of control, different type of, coaching style that you have to do. So Chris Jackson dealing with all these NFL players, and who knows how much, responsibility that he had. A lot of credit went to Doug Peterson this year, especially with how bad Urban Meyer was last season.
Yeah, couldn't have got worse. It wasn't getting worse.
Yeah, for sure. So now him coming down to Texas, I see why he wants to come to Texas and have that whole teaching process go with these guys in the locker room, and I respect him for that.
Yeah, that was made official last evening by the University of Texas. So Chris Jackson in as wide receivers coach. Longhorn basketball gets that nice win, and yep, it's time for UT on UT crime. Texas at Tennessee comes up on Saturday. We'll be talking about that one. as the week develops on Friday at 12:30. Zay will get you the right call segment on Texas, Tennessee, break down that matchup for you. Up next, speaking of my co-host, Zay Collier, he threw out a crazy, insane, wacky idea yesterday. But today, Mel Kiper thinks it's a pretty decent idea. We'll tell you what we're talking about next, plus who should be the MVP in the NFL, plus some of the other big awards. It's coming up on The Horn. All right, let's talk a little AV consultations. I was telling somebody at work today about something that one of the cameras caught at the house. The camera caught me falling in the yard and my kid making fun of me. I didn't even think about it, but my wife has become really adept at going back, checking the cameras for different things outside. She really loves it. AV consultations can help you do that as well. If you need to get that security system bolstered, set up, or maybe updated, they can help you do that. They also can help you with all your TV, audio, all the stuff you want for your man cave, for your family watching room. That is what they want. And obviously we got the Super Bowl coming up. If you don't have the setup you want for Super Bowl 57, I'm not sure if they can get you all set up for that, but certainly in the future, they'll get you all set up for NFL. They'll get you set up for college football, all the sports you love, plus all the shows you need to stream. How many screens do you want? How big do you want the screens to be? They can do it all for you. Let them handle every detail. Let them buy the TVs because they can get better deals than you can, and they are not raising their prices right now. All the smart TVs you'd want, all the Sonos audio equipment you're looking for, call them up. Audio visual consultations, 255-8678. That's 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Correct that will. Have a pass of flair. Step on the crack. Hey, mama's back. Oh, man. There are very few rock bands ever that seem dorkier than me. This was one of them. Devo from the early 80s. And a video that we saw a lot. Zay, a lot.
It's one of MTV's first.
Oh, my God. Whip It by Devo. I don't know where it falls in the run of because August 81 is when it started. So you had Video Killed the Radio Star was the first video ever. And then I think there's a Pat Benatar tune that gets the second spot, and then they roll from there. But this song got played a lot. When the dude took the whip and he whipped the clothes off of that girl, oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. And yeah, if you know anything about the content of this song, there's some dirtiness underneath this song. You can let your mind roll on that. But Devo gets us started today. Can you see the video?
The hats?
The red hats?
A little bit.
That was their thing. They sold those hats. They're one of the first bands I remember that had merch at the concert. I didn't go to the shows, but my dad being a teacher all those years, students would come back to school wearing the red hats, the weird Devo hats.
Huh.
Dude, they were super nerdy. And you talk about doing it their way. That's what I loved about Devo. I wasn't the biggest fan of Devo. Wasn't always my thing, but they did not care what you thought. They didn't care. Hey, guys, would you want to be in the Rock and Roll Hall? Shut up. We're just doing our thing. We're just going to be who we're going to be. Talking Heads was like that and some others.
Their hats look like odd doggy bowls.
Yeah, exactly. Like upside down.
Yeah.
Right. That's a perfect explanation. They remind me of what Lionel Richie said at his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech, where he did it that way. You talked about a rapper the other day doing it that way, or some artist doing it that way, where it's like, do what you do. Don't worry about what everybody thinks of you. Do what's authentic to you. Don't keep making the same record over and over again unless you want to.
Yeah.
And Lionel Richie said that. He's like, yeah, when he went to them with the idea for, I guess it would have been All Night Long, when they had all the great, the dancing in the middle and the chanting in the middle and all that kind of stuff, the African feel, the vibe to that song, they ripped him for it, and it was like, nah, that's not Lionel Richie. That's not what we want. That doesn't have the the Commodores feel to it, whatever.
Yeah, they want that soul Commodores.
He's like, nope, this is what it is. You want it or not? This is what's going to be.
That's my jam.
Love that. Devo getting us started today. We hope you are having a great Wednesday. Cowboys fans still trying to process what's going on and what happens in the future. We will get to that in just a second. Also, a reminder, thanks to everybody who's jumping on the Specs text line already, 337-3776. What do you think of the Longhorns' new wide receivers coach? What do you think of that Texas basketball team beating Oklahoma State last night? We're already getting comments there. Real quick, Zay, what do you think of this question? How close is Texas basketball to competing with Houston? One listener wants to know. Would you put them at that level yet?
Yeah, there's nobody that's a clear number one team in the nation. Purdue's good, but take Zach Edey out the game, they're limited. They got some good shooters and all, but they don't got that Jaden Ivey, and they lost in Sweet 16 last year.
So you'd say they're what, 10, 15 teams maybe that can just kind of hang out with everybody?
Yes, and Texas is one of those teams.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree.
I love Marcus Sasser. I love Walker, the freshman out of Houston, and he's a stud. Kelvin Sampson, you better love him up while he's there because he's gone. NBA here.
It's over?
It's over for him.
By the way, I've heard it. I thought we had fixed it. Now I'm hearing some of the national folks go back to saying Jamal Sheed. Let's
Shed.
Let's get it figured out. Shed is his name. He is a badass on one of the best teams in the country. Let's pronounce his name correctly. I know it's Shead, but don't be lazy. Ask the young man. Ask Kelvin Sampson. It is pronounced Shed. Ask the folks out in Manor. My wife works with his dad. She calls him Mr. Shed every time she talks about him.
Yeah. Come
on.
You get confused with Houston because they don't play in a Power 6 conference. They're a little bit like Gonzaga.
Right, that's true.
In that aspect. Like, they have a really good beginning of the season, tough schedule, but once it starts getting to end of December, beginning of January, February, early March, their schedule is a little weak. So that allows them to get the advantage at a number one seed because they don't lose that much. They don't have the Power 6 schedule. They're not in the Big East, Big 10, SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, ACC. They ain't in none of them conferences. I'm having a hard time thinking what conference they're in. Like, what?
Are they CUSA?
AAC?
AAC? The
AAC.
AAC.
Yeah.
Is that them?
They're in the AC.
Okay. They're in the AC. I think you're right. All right. So we'll definitely hit basketball throughout the show. Got some football to get into here. A reminder, speaking of football, once Ball Don't Lie is done this afternoon, you got Longhorn Blitz podcast at 7, Fight Night at 8. Sports Guys Talking Wrestling at 9. Go to hornfm.com. The Fight Night guys have a little contest running for you to get to win some tickets to a fight that's coming to the area. So get on that at hornfm.com. All right, Zay, you threw the idea out yesterday. I even made a promo out of it because I like the idea so much. But then today, I see rolling through ESPN, my ESPN Plus account gives me access to Mel Kiper and Todd McShay stuff. And the headline said, Mel Kiper latest projection, and it said Cowboys fans might like this. And I thought, well, let's see what he's got. I'll get to the top of it in a second. But at 26, it says Dallas Cowboys, Bijan Robinson, running back, Texas.
I mean, I've seen it on multiple mock drafts, so I wasn't throwing a big curveball out there yesterday. But when Mel Kiper Jr. says it, it makes things a little tastier. I'm just saying. A little more appetizing.
Yeah. His explanation right now is, this just makes sense, right? Team owner Jerry Jones loves star running backs, going back to his days of drafting Emmitt Smith in round 1 in 90. And he repeatedly has said Ezekiel Elliott is the Cowboys' most important player. Well, Elliott could be a salary cap casualty this offseason, and Tony Pollard, who made the Pro Bowl this season, broke his left leg in the divisional round and is a free agent. Could Jones and the Cowboys start over and take Robinson, the best back in this class here? Robinson also is a great pass catcher, so he's more than just a between-the-tackles runner. He could also take some of the pressure off quarterback Dak Prescott. I thought hard about defensive tackle with this pick, with Brian Breezy, the Clemson kid, and Maisie Smith out of Michigan as possibilities. Dallas struggled at times stopping the run, but he ultimately right now likes the Bijan Robinson idea. And I don't think you're the only Longhorn fan that you may be the only one who's saying you'll become a Cowboys fan if they get Bijan.
Oh, yeah.
But you might not be the last to think that. There may be some people out there with a, I don't know, NFL team sort of feel like they're up for grabs. And I
have no shame either.
If they love Bijan that much,
I don't care if y'all accept me or not. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Yeah. Y'all making room for me if y'all get number 5.
Well, and the most important thing there, I mean, clearly, when you say he's more than just a between-the-tackles runner, we obviously saw all of that when he was at Texas. Now, will the Cowboys have the offense, the coordinator, and everything to put it all together? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do know that if it is still Kellen Moore, if this round of interviews does not result in him being a head coach and Jerry stays with Kellen Moore, I should have said McCarthy stays with Kellen Moore, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you.
If they stay with Kellen Moore, he does love to watch the ball fly through the air, so at least you could argue he can throw more to Bijan, maybe, than he was throwing to Pollard or throwing to Elliott. I know
Tony Pollard caught the ball a lot this year out the backfield and did well. That's a big part of the reason why he's going to the Pro Bowl.
So maybe that's kind of the replacement. You still got to have that element of it. That'd be a wild idea for the Cowboys. I'd love to see it.
Financially, it makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tony Pollard, appreciate what you did, but see you later. With you and that injury and the money that you're probably going to be asking for as a Pro Bowl running back, you don't want to get into that situation that you got into with Zeke. Now, Zeke, he's doing the good job on his part for asking for less money and trying to negotiate a deal to make him stay in the D, but it's Jerry's decision, and we know Jerry loves some Ezekiel Elliott.
Yes, he does.
The smart thing to do with him, get rid of him too. But the scary thing about Bijan Robinson is somebody willing to take a chance on him earlier than the 26th pick.
Yeah, that's what would scare me as a Cowboys fan.
That's what, because he's that good.
Yeah.
Like, this is a once-in-a-decade running back you got here that could do so many things for an offense. He gets those Saquon, Christian McCaffrey comparisons for a reason, especially how you see him in the NFL. You look at what Kyle Shanahan does with Christian McCaffrey. Sometimes he plays as a wide receiver. Sometimes he's in the backfield. A little bit of mixture of all that all together. I expect Bijan Robinson to be the same thing, if not more. So, yeah, can the Cowboys afford to wait that long to 26, or are the Cowboys willing to make some moves and try to negotiate the draft to allow them to get an earlier pick? I don't know. Is Bijan worth that with the way the NFL looks at running backs? I don't know either.
Do you go up for a running back there?
It's a tough decision.
All right, so here's a couple teams right before them. 25 is New York, the Giants. They don't need Bijan. 24 is
I don't know. They might be done with Saquon Barkley.
24 is Jacksonville. Travis Etienne, enough to keep Bijan away?
Yeah.
Minnesota, they got Cook at 23. 22 is Baltimore. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That may be a danger spot if you're looking for somebody that could swoop in there. Chargers at 21. Maybe.
No, I don't think so. Austin Eckler had a really good season.
Eckler is still really good. Seattle's at 20, and they just got Walker. So there's some teams there that don't seem to need a ton of running back help immediately. Maybe that could help the Cowboys at 26. Real quick before the break, Zay, give me your MVP thought. Finalists for the MVP are Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes. Throwing in one receiver there. Who's your MVP?
Patrick Mahomes.
Going Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm going Patrick Mahomes. 41 touchdowns during the regular season. We all thought without Tyreek Hill, what's he going to be? And he might have had his best season yet, just throwing it to everybody. He told us he was going to do this. They asked him early in the year, yo, you ain't got Tyreek Hill no more. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. What you gonna do? And he says, I'm gonna throw it to everybody.
I'm gonna see everybody.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce's gonna get the ball that much more because he's unstoppable and their chemistry is immaculate. So if Jalen Hurts, if he didn't get hurt, it seemed like it was his to lose. But that injury, him missing those games, and then him not playing well in Week 18, that hurt his chances. He's going to be the runner-up, but you got to give it to the Texan, Patrick Mahomes.
I say give it to whoever wins on Sunday. Assuming Mahomes is healthy, if he can get close to 100, let's go the winner of Burrow-Mahomes. I can make an argument for Burrow, Hurts, and Mahomes. I don't think I'd go with Josh Allen. I don't think I'd go with Justin Jefferson. I think I can make an argument for all three of those quarterbacks.
The Bengals.
But you're right about the injury with Hurts.
Yeah, the Bengals, they're riding now 11, 12 game winning streak that they got now. But you remember early in the season when the Cowboys were beating them and stuff, they did not look good.
That's true.
They didn't. They were still having those offensive line problems.
So you're saying full year, it's Mahomes.
Full year, it's Mahomes.
Yeah.
If we were talking in the last part of the season, probably Burrow.
Yeah, I think you might be right. That's a good point because it is a full season award. So we got some other award finalist lists that we'll go through as the show continues. Coming up at 1:05, Justin Wells. Coming up at 1:30 today, Zay got us a special interview with one of the best basketball coaches in the area, with one of the best teams in the area right now, if not the best. Those Stony Point Tigers are undefeated in district play. They handled Vandergrift last night. We're talking to their head coach, Antoine Thompson, in the Flex segment today at 1:30, so make sure you're around for that, especially if you love yourself some Stony Point. Up next in the crab bag, we are trying to keep up with the Joneses, Longhorn fans, and by that, I mean Saban. Pay attention. Aggie fans, you might want to listen too. This is The Horn. All right, let's talk a little Twin Peaks. Cowboys fans, get on out to Twin Peaks for the championship game because you don't want to watch the Eagles and Niners by yourself in your house and just get all mad because the Cowboys aren't there. Get on out to Twin Peaks. Grab yourself your favorite bar stool. Order a 29-degree draft brew. Get some of that great scratch-made food and check out the conference championship games at the #1 sports bar out there. Also, make your plans for this coming Friday because every Friday in January you got bourbon and brews. That is 5 to 7 on Fridays. The lingerie costume party paired with exceptional bourbons, tastings, and giveaways. So if you're into all of that, that is your place. And you've even got multiple places to choose from. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views, Stastny, San Marcos, and Round Rock. TwinPeaksRestaurant.com. I feel like you might have played this before.
I know.
Sounds familiar to me.
And I know you didn't get it.
Didn't get it that time? Denim and Leather, I think is the name of the song, right? This is Saxon, isn't it?
There it is.
There we go. Okay. All right. There we go. Finally got a metal one. I think I was on like an 0 for 4 run there on metal songs. Saxon and Devo, who I'm certain never toured together. But man, would I love to have a beverage with some of those fans and see what that conversation would be like. Maybe not as good as the Public Enemy and Anthrax shows, but Devo and Saxon would have been pretty damn funny. That would have been good. All right, so Saxon cranked up for you on a Wednesday. A lot of football on the board, obviously. Mel Kiper thinking along Zay's lines, and some others that think Bijan Robinson might be a good pick for obviously a good pick for somebody in the maybe later part of the first round of the draft when you get into the 20-some-odd picks. But go look at those teams. We were just digging through some of them. There's teams in the 20s that I would argue do not need a running back. They're kind of set there. They know who their guy is, unless you want to bring in Bijan to bolster the room and you really want to turn yourself into a run team even more. Cowboys at 26 may have that opportunity. Oh, what would Longhorn fans do if Jerry stares right at Bijan and then keeps on walking? That would be crazy.
It would make sense.
On draft night. No, that would be Jerry. I'd be very Jerry because he would tell you, I am sticking with Zeke. I love him so much. Man. We're going to figure out how to make it work. We'll see what happens in April when we get to draft time. Up next at 1:05, it's Justin Wells of Inside Texas. His thoughts on the Cowboys losing to the Niners and what happens next. What would he change? If I could have him sign for all 4 coming back, Coach, OCDC, and Dak, would he take it or not? And then we'll ask him about Texas' new wide receivers coach, Chris Jackson. What is he hearing? Right now, though, in the crap bag, I'm going to make sure everybody around these parts knows what's going on in T-Town, because that is kind of where you need to be looking, especially when it comes to NIL. Here we go.
Chad's crap bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
It's brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Do not let Nick Saban fool you, Longhorn fans, Aggie fans, fans of anybody else out there. Don't let that little thing with Jimbo make you think he is old school and behind the times and just doesn't get it. Because Bama's always going to be on the leading edge of this stuff. And an article came out this week. I'm reading from an SI article that came out. Ross Dellinger put it out. Learfield, yes, the big communications company and sports marketing giant. They broadcast Longhorn games. They're associated with like 100 different teams. They now have a new 15-year agreement with Alabama that they announced this week in conjunction with the university. They're creating a dedicated hub for name, image, and likeness called the Advantage Center. They're referring to it as an epicenter for Crimson Tide athletics NIL endeavors that the company believes is a first nationally. That's right. Nobody else is doing this right now. So pay attention, Longhorn fans. The Advantage Center, goal of opening this calendar year, will be located inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. It will double as the agency's local office, according to the Learfield CEO. So this is a collaboration between Bama and Learfield. It will provide both a physical home and a staff to educate athletes on NIL opportunities and showcase successful local and national NIL-related relationships. They've thrown renderings out here, Zay, and all you Longhorn fans. In those renderings, the Advantage Center is expected to include a host of NIL-related features, a digital ticker announcing the latest news and athlete deals, a studio with a green screen to provide athletes a place to shoot NIL-related videos, a wall dedicated to Alabama player NIL deals and opportunities, and a meeting space to possibly help facilitate, I love how they said possibly, help facilitate brand and athlete relationships. It will also be located adjacent to The Authentic, which is Alabama's Fanatics retail store that provides NIL opportunities through branded, licensed merchandise. So just to make sure everybody's up to date on this, yeah, Bama's still out in front in a lot of ways. So when whatever Nick Saban meant when he said Jimbo bought all the players, and whatever Jimbo thought he meant by bought all the players, and whatever all that chatter was. And when Nick Saban says we just need guardrails, I don't understand how this is all going to work. And people want to make arguments about how Alabama doesn't have the money and Alabama doesn't have the support of big money boosters. I will be willing to admit that when Bama hits the button, maybe they can't generate in one day what a Texas or an A&M or a Michigan or a USC might be able to generate. But please don't tell me y'all are not paying attention to this kind of stuff, because this is the cutting edge. They've been leading on so many different things, social media, the facilities themselves, but now they're putting the NIL stuff right there inside the stadium. This is what they're going to be showing players on recruiting trips in the next year. They've already started. Texas, have you already started? A&M, have you already started? I'm reading Clemson has a couple ideas in place that might be along these lines. Everybody else better pay attention, though. All you big dogs, all you blue bloods, pay attention, because Nick is not stopping. Nick did not hear David, what's his name? I want to call him David Green. What's the guy's name on ESPN? Played at Georgia. David, can't think of his name. Pollock. There it is. He did not hear David Pollock say Georgia has passed him and then get depressed and walk away. Nick's not taking that lying down. So I'm just letting everybody know.
Yeah. One thing that the great Steve Sarkisian said that I agree with, there's a reason why dinosaurs are extinct. You got to be able to adapt. And Nick Saban, he understands that. He understands what Georgia has done these last 2 years. And I know that irks him. That irks the hell out of him because Kirby Smart was one of his guys. So now everybody's saying Georgia has taken that step and they have overcame Alabama. So what do you have to do? You have to figure out ways that you could get that power back. And it's things like this that shows why Nick Saban's one of the best. His just ability to adapt. Even though what he said about Jimbo and their little riff, like, Nick, you have no nerve saying that because you know you do the same thing and you are doing it and then some.
Yeah, so that's the part of that I think that's important here. And again, like I'll give you the example. So like over in College Station at one of their big stores, they do have a little section off to the side that is devoted to NIL, one of those newer things that's come along. But what this is in the stadium and associated with Fanatics. This isn't on a local level. That's a national brand. Fanatics, with Aaron Andrews and all the clothes, College Pro and all that. So they'll have a Fanatics store right there in Bryant-Denny with the NIL stuff. And if I'm that prospective athlete walking through, I see that. And then I see this ticker that's running on the top of the ceiling, not a ceiling, but like Times Square style, that'll say, this Alabama player got this deal. This guy got this deal. They're gonna put
like Wall Street.
They're going to put it on the wall for me, Zay. They're going to put it on the wall and say, hey, you want to know what you could get? Just start reading. And that's where, again, you got to push all that stuff aside that Saban's talking about because it's all semantics on do you believe it's used as incentive or not. Nick would say, oh, come on, we don't show them all that stuff until they're actually on campus. We all know that's crap.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even matter. We all know how it works. And that's what they're going to be shown. So to the biggest of big dogs, just know what Nick's doing, man. It's these renderings are impressive, and they're going to be getting it done in T-Town very quick. So I think Texas, and heck, Texas, A&M, Clemson, some of these big schools, Ohio State, Michigan, they're already getting some stuff going. I'm not saying they don't care about NIL, but at this level, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and you got to understand there's rules for NIL that are different in each state. So you got to take advantage of whatever the state allows you to do. And, Oregon, they have different rules from Texas. Phil Knight, he could be involved a lot up there. Texas, they don't have that luxury, which is why they had to do the collective thing. And they got their own little, what was it called? Texas One Fund? I think I'm botching that.
Yeah, I think that's
the new thing that it just popped up this year.
I think you're right. Something like that.
Something
Texas
like that.
One
Y'all know what I'm
Fund.
talking about.
Yeah.
But you just got to figure out ways that's going to benefit your school, your university, and this is a way that Alabama's taking advantage.
Man, no doubt. By the way, I'm glad you brought that up. I have here the Alabama state law on NIL. Rule 1, ask Nick. Rule 2, there is no Rule 2.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Saban runs the show.
Oh, he bigger than the governor.
Yeah.
It ain't even close.
He definitely is.
It's not even close.
So keep your eyes peeled for that one. You'll start to see, I'm sure, videos and stuff when that place is done. And, hey, it's all a part of the arms race, right? It's locker rooms and it's all that. But now the NIL element is going to become even more a part of it. How do they keep helping these guys maximize NIL potential? Keep your eyes peeled for that. Crap Bag every day at 12:45 with whatever's rolling around in my head. Tomorrow, I'm going to dig into Jerry Jones as an 80-year-old GM. How unique is that in the NFL? We'll get to that tomorrow. Up next, little Cowboy talk and some Longhorn stuff with Justin Wells of Inside Texas. Don't move. It is Wednesday, and this is The Horn. All right, this is Chad talking Underdog Fantasy, easiest place to play fantasy sports. I've got me an NFC Championship game, pick'em game put together. I'm going to do one for the AFC game and get those out by the end of the week so you can check them out and see how easy it is. If I can put these together, trust me, you can. You just pick whether your player is going to have a higher or lower stat total in that week's game for your chance to win big. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single playoff game. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. You can make the rivals picks if you want. That pits 2 players against each other. Which player is going to have more yards or points, things like that. Also, check out the pick insurance option. It gets you a better chance to win. Now, if pro football is not your thing, which is a little crazy, but if it's not and you want to do something else, there's all kinds of sports on there. If you're a big NBA fan, go check out NBA games before they get started. They'll set up some pick'em games that you can choose from there as well. You can mix it up. You can go a little NFL, a little NBA if you want. Mix up sports in your pick'em games. Not a problem. Very versatile. Sign up today with the promo code HORN. You get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Get a pick'em game put together today at Underdog Fantasy. Yes. Let's go hour number 2 on a Wednesday. Hope you are having a good hump day. Nice sunny day out there, a little on the cool side, but we hope you are safe and sound. We get ready for the NFL championship games. Cowboys fans, are you like me? Anything in the AFC you'll root for. I don't even know what I'm going to do when this NFC game starts. Probably just drink. We'll talk about that. We talked about Mel Kiper thinking that the Bijan to the Cowboys idea might be interesting at the end of the first round. Talking MVP. The finalists are out for that. You like Mahomes or Burrow or Hurts or one of the other two guys there? We'll get back into those lists. Also, Longhorn news. Texas basketball gets a big win last night against Oklahoma State and looked good doing it. And Chris Jackson is official. It is going to be Chris Jackson, formerly of the Jaguars. He will be the new receivers coach for the University of Texas. We'll hit all of that right now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. We do it every Wednesday about this time with Justin Wells of Inside Texas and On3.com. And yes, he's a Cowboys fan like me, so he's licking a wound or two. We'll get to that. What's up, Justin?
Yeah. What's up, Chad?
Yeah. I know.
What up, Jay Wells?
This is that week where Cowboys fans talk very short to everybody. Hello, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah. Great. Wonderful. Super. Fantastic.
Right.
Let's move on.
The Chris Farley, right, exactly. The Chris Farley bus driver. Great. Wonderful. That is it. That is how we all kind of feel this week. We'll get to that. Let's start with a little better news, Justin. Let's start with this Texas receivers coach. I'll admit it's a guy I didn't know a lot about when I started to hear the name come out there, but in reading up on him and seeing his journey and the resume, there's some impressive stuff on there, especially development with these guys in the NFL. What'd you think of it? And after getting a chance to dig in a little bit, how do you think Chris Jackson fits in with Sark's ideas?
I'm like you guys. I honestly didn't know much about him originally when we had kind of started hearing about it a couple of weeks ago, and so did a little homework, and you're right. He's got some chops in the NFL. He's done some pretty good developing. He had a nice little stint with the Chicago Bears, and then this last year with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he brought out career years with Christian Kirk and a couple of the other guys. And so that ultimately, when you get into a college locker room and you've got freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior wide receivers trying to make it to that next level, that's an ultimate respect right there. They're going to instantly listen to you because they just recently seen what you're doing. They see that stuff working on Sundays. And so that's a good start to introducing yourself to the new wide receiver room in Austin. I don't know a lot past, what he's done. I know I remember him as a receiver at Washington State. Obviously he's going to have some chops on the West Coast in recruiting. He'll get closer to the kids in Texas over the next few months. Not to mention guys that are in the newer guys in the locker room, like a Jonte Cook and a Ryan Niblett, or rather a DeAndre Moore. On the surface, it looks good. It looks real good. The only question I have is going to be recruiting. Is he going to be able to hit the road and build those relationships? It's a different ball game in the NFL, as you guys know. The recruiting doesn't really happen too much. It's more of a professional job, and it's more of a go to work every day and do your best. Whereas in college, you got to motivate sometimes. You got to develop these kids on not only a physical level but an emotional level. So it's going to be a transition. But you can't go wrong bringing in a guy that's been coaching pros, because most college kids go to the University of Texas with one dream, and that's to get to the professional level. And Chris Jackson is going to be able to come in that room instantly and command that respect.
Jay Wells on Texas football's Twitter, they put out a little video of winter practices or winter workouts, and you see a little bit of Jalen Ford and Jordan Whittington, Kelvin Banks, Alfred Collins. Any word on how winter workouts is going as of now? I know we're early, but anybody turning any heads or anybody coming with, you got to replace not only the production of Bijan and Roshan, but also the leadership with those two. Has anybody stepped up to the table this early on?
I think the leadership thing is going to take time. I think there's some guys already kind of clamoring for those spots. because they've earned the program and the team's respect. Jalen Ford is the first one that pops in my mind. He has a ton of respect throughout the team, and when you play really well and you've struggled and then you turn it into a lot of success, that really resonates with your teammates and with guys on your squad. And so I think Jalen Ford is the guy that could assert himself into that conversation. Jaron Thompson is one on the defensive back end. I think he's another one that's a lot like Ford, that came in and had his early struggles, has turned his game around and been developed. One of the smartest players in all of college football. And I think he's the guy that demands that respect from the team. I mean, anytime a kid who came from Lufkin High School and was the captain of the varsity football team as a freshman at Lufkin, let me tell you, they've got leadership attributes. And so I think those two guys are some guys you can look at on that defensive side. On the offensive side, it hasn't really come to fruition yet. You know, Kelvin Banks is one that I think you could see could step up, but he's a pretty quiet kid, and that's understandable. He's still a freshman, and so you don't want to rush anybody into that spot. I think they'd like to see Quinn Ewers take over that mantle a little bit, and I think they already have seen some of that. If you read it Inside Texas, a lot of what was reported during the bowl practices, you know, Quinn Ewers arrived in December. He lost 10 pounds, and he had started getting in better shape. And I think we saw that in the bowl game. He had one of the best games of the season last year, and we saw that in his mobility, in his ability to get the ball out quicker and to elude the pass rush and to make plays, to those off-platform throws. That's why I think Quinn was looking better, is because he's lost weight, because he's getting more in shape. And I think that next step for him is to like take the reins of the offensive room and let everyone know it's his job, and everyone needs to jump on board and follow. And so the development of the leader, it has to come organically. It can't be a kid that just stands up and starts hollering. It goes through stages. And I think we're going to find out who those guys are, I think, over the next few months heading into spring ball. A couple guys that stand out early, I want to mention a guy like an Anthony Hill Jr. He's already turning heads. You know, they basically do like daily weigh-ins. He's already at 226 pounds, looks fantastic. He's getting inundated right now. I believe the younger guys are now lifting with the older guys. And so that's usually a process that takes a couple weeks after enrollment in January. Cedric Baxter, I'm told, is just a big, fast dude. He's a guy that there's some Cedric Benson to him, guys. He's got some size and some shake, and he can go between the tackles. And like we saw in the Alamo Bowl against Washington, this team needs tailbacks that can go between the tackles. And so I've heard that Cedric Baxter looks good. I've heard Jonte Cook is yet to drop a ball. This is a kid with pristine route running ability. He can play inside. He can play outside. I want to say you should probably give him a little credit for help with the A.D. Mitchell recruitment along with Bijan Robinson. And so I've heard Jonte and DeAndre Moore are acclimating very well, and they're getting in those extra passing sessions with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. They're doing that. They're going that above and beyond right now. And that's what you want to see. Last year, when the new enrollees came in, it was similar. You saw some of those guys really start to take shape, to really, you know, the biggest thing for those guys early on is to earn the respect of the coaches and their teammates. And they're doing that with this class now too. And it just shows you their mental capabilities. You know, Terrence Brooks came in last year, one of the youngest guys in the program. Now he's one of the rising stars at corner. Andre Kojo just came in, and he's another one that's just a big human that with some development already. You know, he's 16 years old, guys. Or about to turn 17. He is young.
Wow.
And so, yeah, you have to consider just, you know, the age is there. And not only that, it's the maturity. You can tell that Sark and this staff values the mental evaluation really high. That's something we've been able to pinpoint in their first two cycles and who they've identified in this 2024 class. And so right now, that's kind of the early returns. Not a whole lot to glean. You know, it's kind of the underwear Olympics at 6 a.m. at DKR. It's not about who looks great running around the field. It's who showed up early, who's given everything they've got, and who is totally drenched in sweat and wore out and given everything they had when that session's over. And so right now, the best thing I think is the young guys are starting to appreciate where they're at, understand the magnitude of where they're playing, and earning the respect of their teammates and their coaches, because if you can't get to that part, there's nothing else behind it. That's the first step. You're looking at step 6 or 7, and you have to finish that one. And I think these guys have a really good grasp of that.
I'm with Justin Wells inside Texas. All right, Justin, you are a Cowboys fan like me. Let me fit in the Cowboy question here this way. If I put the document in front of you to get you McCarthy, Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn, and Dak Prescott all back for 2023, would you sign, or do you want something else?
I'd sign.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd sign. I would, because I've seen quarterback play in the NFL. And Dak Prescott is still one of your better guys. Yeah, he didn't look good against San Francisco, and I think it's twofold. I think Dak made some bad decisions late in the game that kind of cost him, and I also feel like San Francisco just played really good football. There's a reason they had won 12 consecutive games now, running out a third string quarterback that we've been covering in the Big 12 for the last 4 years. I think you got to give D'Amico Ryans and those guys a lot of credit. They flustered Dallas in the second half. And this game was lost in the second quarter because San Francisco, it was so even in the first half. It really, really was. Both teams were really in each other's offensive playbooks. The defenses both were really standing out. When Tony Pollard went down, I think it was a giant gut punch to that sideline. Not just because he's your starting running back, not just because he's coming off his first Pro Bowl, but because he's the most explosive player in the program. And that was the kind of X factor they needed to get an advantage on San Francisco. That was the guy they kind of needed to make those plays. And he's been doing that all season, Chad. You and I have watched it.
Yep.
And so losing Tony Pollard was huge. And then giving up that field goal at the end of the half was even bigger. I think those two data points just really crushed the boys. And when they came out in the second half, it was nothing but catch up. It was nothing but trying to because San Francisco had found their groove, obviously, in the second half. Still not explosive. I felt like Dan Quinn called one hell of a ball game. I felt like he is getting so much out of corners that were picked up out of Brookshire's 3 weeks ago. Like, people didn't understand. People don't understand the injuries that secondary had faced. And so you got to give credit to who they ran. I want to say they had 6 consecutive games of different lineups in that back end, that secondary. And Dan Quinn still got the most of those guys. We saw Micah Parsons playing at his best, and he's inhuman. And so there's so much more you can glean from it. But to me, at the end of the day, San Francisco was a better team. They were better coached. They were healthier. They had a better roster, and it was at home. And I think that home field advantage really helped them. And I just think at the end of the day, San Francisco was the better team. Dallas had a shot in the first half, but when they lost Pollard and they gave up that field goal to end the half, I think they were in catch-up mode from that point on. And the only thing that was really working, once Dalton Schultz was neutralized in the first half, the only thing that was working was the quick slant, the quick out to CeeDee Lamb. And those are great. But those don't move the chain. Those don't get you in the end zone. And I think that's why you saw Brett Maher get his redemption because all they could do was wind up kicking field goals in the second half.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Jay Wells, because you just talked about the running back situation. And Jerry and Stephen Jones have some serious answers to fill. And with no Tony Pollard, you got to worry about re-signing him. Is he going to come back 100% off the broken leg? We know the Zeke situation. Are they going to drop him? He's asking for less money. But Mel Kiper Jr. on his mock draft said that 26th pick could be Bijan Robinson. How do you feel about that?
Well, I have a few thoughts. First of all, Mel Kiper knows his audience. He knows his audience, and he knows these owners. Bijan Robinson would be a very Jerry Jones-ish move. For a team that needs a lot of help, and running back would not be the first place I would look, does not seem likely. I just don't see that being a possibility. The second thing, there is no way in hell that kid's going to be on the board at 26. I'm sorry. The way that if you've noticed in the last few weeks, really the last month, all the mock draft guys and the draft gurus and the people that cover this thing for a living, and they do it, 364, 365 days a year. They're watching Bijan Robinson, and he's climbing because people are seeing this kid's legit. He's different. The running back position is, people don't usually get drafted in the first round anymore. Tailbacks, it's few and far between. But Bijan's going in the first, and he's going to go. I don't think he's going top 5 or top 10, but he's not going to be there at 26. Dallas has a dozen other issues they need to fix. They need to bring in some more depth on the offensive line. They need another wide receiver opposite CeeDee Lamb so that they can place Michael Gallup in the slot where he belongs. I'd like to see some more depth at corner because, like I said, they went in with 2 starting corners, had 2 more corners brought in who were also hurt, and then finally went into the 3rd-string corners with 2 guys. And so I'd love to see some new guys in that back end in the secondary, maybe a guy to back up Leighton Vander Esch at linebacker. Another guy could come in. Running back just isn't important right now. I do think Pollard, they're going to give him an honest offer. I think he's earned that. And if Jerry Jones has shown anything, he's loyal to the guys that are in the organization. If you've come up and they drafted you and you've done well, they're going to give you your contract to stay. And the fact that Zeke Elliott is willing to take a pay cut just furthers that notion that Pollard might stay. They're going to give him a contract extension, and he's going to get offers from a number of programs or franchises. But I think Dallas, with the fact that they could re-sign him and that Zeke's taking a pay cut after a career low 843 yards rushing this year, I just don't see Bijan Robinson being a priority for the Dallas Cowboys. But give Mel Kiper credit. He needed some conversation on Wednesday, apparently, and he got it.
He did get that. That's Justin Wells, Inside Texas on 3.com, at Justin Wells 2424 on Twitter. Appreciate it, man. We will talk to you next week. Signing day, wrapping everything up, and we'll know who's in the Super Bowl. Have yourself a good week, man.
Nothing but love, gentlemen.
Good stuff there.
Thanks, Jay Wells.
Good stuff as always. All right, coming up next, speaking of good stuff, that Stony Point boys basketball team is producing some good stuff already. Undefeated in district. Their only loss is to a big-time team out of the Dallas area, and their head coach is Antoine Thompson. He is up next in the Flex segment. Don't move. It's the Horn. All right, let's talk a little sinus and snoring specialist. I got a pretty good night's sleep last night. Not as long as I wanted to sleep, but still really good recuperative sleep, and that's because I'm breathing better than I was back in the day. Back in the day was 2017 when I went into sinus and snoring specialist. I met Dr. Slaughter, started to find out what they do over there. Over 20 years of experience, over offering the very latest in ear, nose, and throat technology. For me, it was the balloon sinuplasty procedure because my nasal passages were all blocked up. You've heard me say it, 85% blocked. Once he was able to show me that, I started to realize what was going on. And remember, Dr. Slaughter has surgical and non-surgical options that others just don't have. For snoring, for sleep apnea, they can get rid of your allergies for good. They can deal with sinus infections that you may be dealing with. And everybody's different. Everybody in your household is different on these things. Everyone, your friends, your family members, it's all going to be different. So get in there and figure out what specifically is causing your issues, and then they can go about dealing with it. Call and set up your appointment. 512-601-0303. Mention that you heard it here on the Horn. We do appreciate it. You can also go to sinussnoringent.com. It's sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. Oh, I like it. Bring the horn section. Bring the horn section on a Wednesday. What do you got, Zay?
James Brown and the JBs. Pass the peas.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. That's serious horn section there. James Brown and the what?
And the JBs.
And the JBs.
Yeah.
Okay. So this isn't the James Brown, but it's a different James Brown and a big horn section?
No, it's the James Brown. It's just his crew.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, he had a crew.
Okay, I got you.
You didn't see him in Rocky IV.
Oh, I see the JBs didn't make the movie?
I don't think they made it in Rocky IV.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is probably best. They didn't want to see somebody die that night.
If the backup band shows up, they may die. That may happen. All right, that was a terrible Ivan Drago.
Yeah, it's not the best Ivan Drago, but it's all right.
Not a great Ivan Drago.
If he dies, he dies.
I still need to make my wife sit through Rocky IV. She's never seen the whole movie all the way through. I was like, honey, one day.
That might be my favorite Rocky.
You just need to sit through it one time.
I know I'm disrespecting the franchise by saying that, but so be it.
No, it's a lot of people's favorite Rocky movie. I know a lot of people that go with 4. I'd lean more towards 3, but 4 is great.
Like the training in the snow.
Oh, it's fantastic.
With the logs and stuff. It's iconic.
It's fantastic. All right, James Brown and the JBs. We had Saxon. We had Devo earlier. Coming up at 2:05, Chip Brown of Horns247.com. Talking Longhorns, talking Cowboys, talking NFL. Zay's got Where We At in Society coming up. Right now, though, we have a special flex segment because we have a special guest. Here we go.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
Zay, you've had a chance to get a look at this team a couple times this year, and they just might be the best in the area. So we thought we should hear from their head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. During his player days, he was an all-Syntex player at Manor, went on to play his college ball at Austin College, and now he's one of the best, not just young coaches, but one of the best coaches in the area in all of Texas. Stony Point head coach Antoine Thompson is on the line. Antoine, welcome to Chad and Zay, my brother.
Man, I appreciate you gentlemen having me. First of all, I got to say, man, you all keep me entertained. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes my wife asks me, did I hear the show, Zay? And I'm like, no, why are you listening to it? I guess you keep her entertained at the office too. So I got to put that out there first right now. You know, with Summer being a sports head, ex-collegiate basketball player. Sometimes she watches more sports than I do. But, you know, I thank you gentlemen for having me on. Look forward to this.
Yeah, tell you later. We appreciate it, man. And yeah, you and I, we go back, my brother, from 2 decades playing in, you remember the Givens, San Antonio Spurs, Pizza Hut League, playing in those leagues, playing in random rec leagues at Doris Miller's, etc. And I'm just proud to see.
We go back like 4 flats for real, man. Like they have no idea. Those Spurs League shirts were big as heck. We were wearing 3Xs before 3Xs existed and trying to shoot a basketball on a 10-foot rim.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Yeah,
I tell my kids, y'all are so granted.
Hey, Coach Thompson, do you have any Zay stories from back in the day? I know him now, but I didn't know him back then. Any stories from Zay on the court you can share?
Let me tell you this. We competed against each other, Manor High School, Bowie High School, probably 2 or 3 times in official high school games. But every summer from May through August, from 2005 until 2009 when we graduated, we got after it in our AAU days. I mean, the energy that you have right now, imagine that playing a 32-minute segment with a guy 6'4" who was crafty, can shoot it, and I'm going to hold my filter on this, talked a little bit, a little crazy to some guys from the east side of town, and I'm like, hey, Zay, all right, you lucky you making all these threes right now, because, boy, I would be on your tail. But no, a very charismatic man, a competitor, a very humble man. Like a pedigree of what I want my son to be, being a coach's son one day. It was so great seeing Coach Collier, a legend in our area, a mentor of mine, being a young coach in the game, and seeing Zay, walk in those footsteps, man. Just say this. He's walked into an avenue that he's always been aligned with sports and being who he is.
Very nice.
Antoine, I appreciate that, dog. You gassing me up. People thinking you crazy. Like, who the hell we got online the way you gassing me up? I appreciate that, brother. And I'm proud of you, dog. Just likewise, sir. The respect's there. And there's something prideful about being from the city. And because we just don't get that respect from the Houstons and the Dallas and even the San Antonios, and just that group from that era for 2005 to 09, hell, even 2010, you got Donald Dallas on your rosters. He's like a brother to me, just playing against him all those days, Yellow Jackets and all those Austin and1 teams. I'm very proud of you and how proudly you represent Central Texas, and you see that with your team and you see that with how you coach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's one thing I pride myself on. I'm not going to lie. Being a true, an Austinite, a true individual born and raised here, I take pride in what we're doing right now, heavily, especially being in the we've heard the comparisons of the Duncanvilles, the Brennans, the Wagners, and the culture that they create, the Kimballs, Carters, the culture that they cultivate is what we're trying to present right now. It's something similar to the old LBJ days with the swagger of everything. Being, in this leadership role now, it's a great opportunity for us to just hone in on the manifestation of what the city has turned into. In reality, Austin doesn't look the same, but I serve the same community, same demographics that I was raised around at Stony Point right now. So we serve the highest number of low socioeconomic students. We take advantage of what the individuals that we have on our campus. Just what we do representing Central Texas right now, being the number 5 team in the state in some polls, number 17 in TABC polls. We take pride in that.
We're talking with Stony Point head coach Antoine Thompson. They got a win over Vandergrift last night, 72-56. Coach, if I've got my numbers right, you're 23-1. You're 8-0 now in district. Zay's had a couple chances to see you. I watched the game that Zay covered on TV. Uzziah Bunton definitely stood out in that game. I know there's a lot of talk about Josiah Mosley and what he's been able to do for you. Give us a thought. What do you like about this team right now? Clearly they're winning games and they're impressive right now. From the coach's perspective, you see them every day. What do you like about this team?
The biggest thing that I like about these guys is the camaraderie. There is no selfishness amongst these young men, with the fact that it's inevitable that our top 3, Josiah, Uzi, and Tiki Mordine, senior-led Tiki Mordine, are huge factors to what we do. But like I tell everyone else, our 4 through 12, I'll take them to bat with anyone. Just simply, prime example, Evan Hayes, a junior on this roster, who's been on the roster all year, lights it up for against Vandy last night for 20. 6 for 7, top school record for 3-pointers made last night. Landon Short, a sophomore, who was big last night. But the one key factor that no one really talks about, or 2 really, John Eric Mosley is Josiah Mosley's big brother. John Eric has been so consistent for us with his leadership, his camaraderie that he builds with everyone. And Justin Zimmerman, another senior, who may not fill it up in the stat book, but defensively, he will shut down whomever you put in front of him. And I got 24 games to measure that. But the close-knit relationship that we've built with these young men it goes a long way to the play of what we do. And the leadership from my coaching staff, Coach Paul Bunton, Coach Marcus Saunders, Coach John Hill, and my two volunteers who helped me out, Devon Owens and Donald Dallas, the leadership that we all put into these young men, that goes into the basketball piece. I think the stuff that we build outside of basketball leads to the success that we have now.
Now, Twan, let me ask you this, because you got Uriah Bunton, the sophomore, and his pops, like you just said, he's an assistant coach. And I remember being a coach's son, and I know this must be tough for you at times, because if you're a coach's son, a lot of the time when you make mistakes, you look at pops. And, you know, even though you look at Pops, he's the assistant coach, you have to find that balance as the head coach of, okay, what does he need to hear from my voice? And what do I, you know, what does he need to hear from his pops? And I'm sure you and Coach Button have a good relationship on that, but how do you get the best out of him and also just say, okay, you know what, maybe I should let his pops take over for certain situations?
You know, it's crazy, man. The intangible with Uzi is completely opposite. Coach Paul actually wants me to just, hey, you coach him up. I've had enough time to coach him up. And sometimes I'm looking at him like, this is your boy. Like, get him right now. What is going on? But we have one thing that I've grown into this year is building that relationship with Uzi to where I am able to coach him, being able to build that relationship with my point guard, my head of my snake. Like, look, what do we need right now? You tell me what we need. So, you know, we've gone back and forth on what's the best way to present stuff with Uzi and get and extract more for the team. And Paul's done a great job with just allowing me to coach him. I will say this. He motivates me because he does not give him any slack. He rips his tail. He gets on him. But sometimes I'm like, you are my assistant. Like you are like, let's go, coach him up. He just turned the ball over 3 of our 5 possessions. What are we doing? I need you to coach him up. And he was like, well, I thought you were going to do it. So, you know, it's been a great intangible with me and Paul, you know, Paul and I, with him allowing me just to coach him up so hard because, you know me, Zay, like my passion, it can get a bit much, but he's grown into it. Uzi has adapted to it. And, you know, it's been evident for what we've done thus far.
Yeah, he's an absolute problem. Just the left-handed floaters, right-handed floaters, great pull-up jumper, and he plays well above his years. You wouldn't think he's a sophomore. Definitely plays like an upperclassman. But let me ask you about Josiah Mosley, the junior, who a lot of these colleges, these mid-majors in Texas want, North Texas, UT Arlington. You had Iowa State coaches there the other day. Tell me about him and what's his ceiling in your eyes?
Well, Josiah's a pro. I'm gonna say that first and foremost. He's a pro. He's one of those kids that, man, you're blessed to have in a high school setting. But the one thing about Josiah is that he's so humble. He is a gym rat. He never is content with what he has done and always seeking more, which makes it so much easier for me because when I challenge him, I need you to give me multiple efforts. He gets it done. When I challenge him, I need you to be a better student in this class. He gets it done. When I challenge him, can you be the focal of this leadership opportunity we have in the community? He and his teammates take that role on and gets it done. You know, the basketball piece is what everyone sees. You know, that's neither here nor there. But the character traits of Joe, being a humble young man, he comes and watches my son's basketball games every Saturday after practice. Those are the things that I want people to see more than the 6'7" basketball player who can do the basketball things. The things that he does in the community with the community leadership, those are the things that I want us to, really polarize and look at for the intangibles of us building a culture. But when you talk basketball, I'm going to speak for him right now. If you talk top 3 in the state in the 24 class, you better have Josiah Mosley in there. You talk this area, this region, Josiah Mosley should be at the top of any name, any list that you're referring to. With his ability to step out and shoot it, play inside, he has a 6'10" wingspan. He's only 16 years old. All the offers and opportunities at next level, post-secondary readiness, that's going to come just from his style of play.
It's impressive stuff. Stony Point head coach Antoine Thompson joining us. And by the way, if you want to go check this team out, how about Friday night at Round Rock? Big matchup, Dragon Gym, if you want to get out there and check this Stony Point team out. Now, real quick, Coach, before we let you go, we heard a rumor. Zay heard the rumor but couldn't confirm it that that one Tracy McGrady might have been in the house for one of y'all's games recently. Can we confirm or deny whether or not T-Mac was in the house?
That is confirmed. That is not. That is confirmed.
Nice.
That is factual.
There we go. There it is.
You talking to T-Mac, Coach?
Yeah, I did talk to him. He's been to actually a couple games. He's been in attendance. He heard about Stony and came and checked out a couple games.
That's dope. That's dope. Well, Antoine, we appreciate you, man. Again, so proud of you just as a young coach, seeing you grow up, just growing up in the same area as you. And to what you said, I used to talk spicy to you Eastside boys. That's because y'all used to look at us South Austin boys like we were soft. And I had to represent.
Here we go.
You know that. I had to represent.
That is also factual.
Yeah, I had to represent, but appreciate you, Antoine, man. I hope you have a great rest of the season. I wish your team luck, and you have a great rest of the day.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for having me again, and you all continue to give us blessings.
That's awesome. Thank you, Coach. Oh, my God. That's fantastic. that is factual. You are not wrong, Zach.
Oh, yeah. They used to look at us South Austin folk like, what? Oak Hill? Oh, y'all weak.
That is so great. Thanks to Stony Point head coach Antoine Thompson for giving us some time. They are a badass group, but as Coach just told you, some of those personal stories coming out of it as well. They are handling their business, man. I was rolling down the wins today on their schedule. Couldn't find one inside of 10 points. It might be there, but I couldn't find it on a quick scan today. They beat Vandergrift last night by 16, and I'm talking to our man Derek Cohen out here in the hall earlier today of Flex ATX, and he's like, that's a pretty decent Vandergrift team they just beat.
Solid.
That's not a bad basketball team, and they just handled them by 16. So, impressive stuff.
Yeah, they're just a very tough ball club, which the energy comes from Antoine. You heard him, heard how enthusiastic he is. You heard how much he cares. I mean, we just asked him about Josiah Mosley, and he really didn't talk about basketball that much. And that just shows the type of character and the type of person he is, and that resonates with that community. And Stony Point, they're lucky to have a good one.
Yep, shout out to that Stony Point Tiger community. You got a good one there. I got a good basketball team if you haven't checked them out yet. And if you're in the area and you want to check out a badass basketball team, they are playing great at Round Rock on Friday night, coming out of 25-6A. Flex segment every day at 1:30. FLXATX.com is where I am right now looking at that schedule for Friday for boys and girls basketball if you want to go check it out. At 2:05, it's Chip Brown of Horns247.com. We'll get his thoughts on Longhorns, Cowboys, and more. Up next, it's Where We At in Society with Isaiah Collier. We'll see what he's got for us today. Don't move. It's the Horn. Rolling through a Wednesday. This one I've got. This one I know. This is Bono and the Boys. This is U2.
Bono and the Boys.
There you go.
Yep.
And I would bring up a famous episode of Friends, but you just insult Jennifer Aniston. So we're just going to keep on moving. But all you Friends fans know what I'm talking about. U2, James Brown and the JBs, Saxon and Devo have all been a part of the show. Also, thanks again to Stony Point head coach Antoine Thompson, who was nice enough to give us a little time today, talk about his team, talk about his situation. That's a good basketball team he's got there. And apparently his wife listens, so shout out to Mrs. Thompson as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about that?
Fun interview. Coach Thompson, great man. And, yeah, it's a big reason why Stony Point's had their success this year. That's the guy on the sideline.
So when it's a situation like his, where he is a basketball player, and then he marries someone who's a basketball player. Do they have, like, couples leagues?
I think she was a volleyball player.
Oh, she was volleyball.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, do they have any, like, couples 2-on-2 leagues out there? Does that happen? if you're like a badass couple and you can both hoop,
Right.
do they have those where you'd show up and it's like a social event, but you also get out there and, tear it up?
I don't know. You remember Hoop It Up?
Like the game?
3-on-3? No, 3-on-3.
Oh,
Hoop
the
It Up.
league. Yeah.
The league. Usually travel around the
Sure.
world, play on 3-on-3 tournaments.
Right.
That's the closest thing that I could think of.
Yeah, they ought to do that.
They need to bring that back.
They ought to do couples. They ought to do like 2-on-2 couples basketball.
Yeah. I remember I was on the Hoop It Up team when I was like 8 years old. I missed 2 huge free throws. I sent out to the next round. I never talked to my teammates ever again after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You missed the free throws and just stopped talking to them?
No, they stopped talking to me.
Oh, they stopped talking to you. Wow. You got ostracized just because you missed a free throw or two?
Hey,
Man.
a lot at stake for the Hoop It Up championship.
Maybe that explains why I haven't talked to all my basketball teammates in so long. I mean, it's all those shots I missed. They just stopped talking to me. All right, Chip Brown of Horns247.com coming up at 2. Right now, though, where are we at in society? Let's see what Zay's got for us.
Where are we at in society today?
All right, Zay, do I need to go to Twitter here? What's going on?
Yeah, go to Twitter just so you could see how beautiful this woman is.
Oh, Lord,
Cowboys
here we go.
quarterback Dak Prescott and his girlfriend, Natalie Buffett, break up after 2 years.
What?
This week, though?
Oh, that's not good.
This week?
Right now?
Right now?
Okay, did this just happen, or is it just getting out, or both?
It's
we
just getting out. But I'm pretty
Dude.
sure it happened after what we saw Dak do on Sunday.
Oh, come on now. She didn't end a relationship because he almost threw a pick 6 to Greenlaw and threw 2 picks, did she?
I don't know.
She's not going to be that woman. They've been together 2 years.
I don't know. That Brock Purdy is a cute fella on that other side.
Zay, let's be honest. If she's been with Dak for 2 years, she's seen a lot of bad passes.
Yo, basically she got with Dak during rehab. Like, she's seen a lot of dark times.
She's seen rehab. She's seen clock management.
She wasn't there
issues.
the rookie season.
Come on now. And most importantly, Dak, the guy, cannot really be second guessed. Apparently, Dak, the guy, is a pretty good dude. He looks like that, handsome as hell, successful, a lot of money. I can't imagine being with Dak Prescott is a horrible experience.
I don't know. It is a little bit weird that Ezekiel Elliott gets better purses than Natalie does from Dak Prescott. That's a little odd.
Oh, my
and
God.
I'd have a problem with that, too, if I was Natalie.
Now, I don't know if we have that confirmed. I don't know if we have that part confirmed.
I don't remember who brought who that Go-Yard bag in Hard Knocks a season ago, but that's odd.
That is
You
weird.
don't buy another man luggage.
That is
You don't
weird.
buy another man a purse or anything like that.
That's a shame, dude. That's a good-looking couple. She is beautiful. I've not seen a lot of...
She's a baddie.
Yeah, I have not seen a lot of pictures of her, but and obviously I know, but
I think this is best for Dak because think about these last few years. They haven't been that good. I mean, the records have been all right during the regular season, but the postseason, maybe Dak now has a clear mind and could focus. You ain't got to worry about the anniversary dinner. You ain't got to worry about meeting moms and pleasing the other family. Hell, Aaron Rodgers don't even talk to his brothers. He don't even talk to his family.
That's fair. That's fair.
And he get a different woman every other week.
So, do we know who gets the sleep number bed? Do we know who gets that? Because Cowboy fans are going to want to know. I want to make sure he gets the rest he needs, and then maybe we accelerate that.
Maybe she gets the messed up table that he flipped in the cable commercial.
Right. Has she been now? Has she been? if she's been resetting his sleep number in the middle of the night, maybe we need to look into that. We need to get some security near the bed.
Yeah.
Has
Maybe
she been
she's an
messing with it?
H-E-B girl and not a Kroger's girl.
Oh.
Have you seen those new commercials, Kroger's with Zeke and Dak?
Oh, no, they're going Kroger.
Yeah, they're going Kroger.
Okay.
So she might be a H-E-B gal, not, not like those Kroger discounts that she's getting.
I've become an H-E-B person throughout my life, but I grew up a Kroger person because there was no H-E-Bs around. I grew up on Kroger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our grocery store growing up. I got no problem with Kroger. I won't dog Kroger out.
I won't dog it out either, but once you experience H-E-B, it's hard to go back.
It'll convert you.
It's hard to go back. I don't think Kroger's whipping out tortillas the way H-E-B be doing.
No, when the Here Everything's Better Howard E. Butt group gets you, they will never let you go. That's serious customer service.
Let's ask the people. People on the Specs text line, text us 512-337-3776. Is Dak, single Dak, do you want that going into the 2023 season? Or you think Dak will be more focused? Because he said, remember after the game, he said, the interceptions deal, it'll never happen again.
Yeah. Now,
distractions. You got distractions, Dak. Get rid of those distractions to help you focus. Girl, you see how bad she is? She looks a little high maintenance. That's a distraction.
I'll make the devil's advocate argument on the other side, though. Now that he is single, could he and his bag brother, Ezekiel Elliott, end up partying a lot more? Because he's available. You know what I mean?
I do.
The stuff that Zeke has gotten himself into in the past, little incidents here and there. Nothing super crazy serious, just stuff where you go, I'd rather you not do that, 21. Now we're going to see 4 and 21 getting into that stuff?
I think Zeke's dogs train now.
Is that right?
I think so. They're not just going out biting folks.
I would hope so.
Parts of Dallas.
All I know is if you hear that Zeke has invited Dak to go to a parade, we need to stop that before it happens. We need to get that stopped. All right, 2 o'clock hour coming up. Chip Brown of Horns247.com coming right up to talk a little Cowboys, but also the Longhorns' new wide receivers coach, and what did he think of the basketball team's big win against Oklahoma State last night? We're going to find out. Stay with us. It's The Horn. All right, hour number 3 on a Wednesday. A lot of stuff going on, football-wise, basketball-wise, getting ready for the NFL championship games, of course. Longhorns officially have their new wide receivers coach. Longhorns get a big win in basketball, win number 17 on the year, keeping pace with everybody at the top of the conference. They got a little help, I guess is what you'd call it, from Iowa State last night, giving K-State their second loss. Boy, there's just going to be a round-robin fight in this conference throughout the year. All right, Zay, let's start with this beat. What we got here?
Rebel Without a Pause, Public Enemy. Chuck D, Flavor Flav, The Crew, legendary.
Yeah. It's going to sound like I'm making it up now, but when you started it, the first thing in my head was, that sounds like something Chuck D would rap about.
Oh, man.
It sounds like something Public Enemy would be involved in. I can feel that coming. Now, what's the name of the song again?
Rebel Without a Pause.
Rebel Without a Pause. Public Enemy. Great stuff. Great stuff. What's one of my favorite visual duos ever? Chuck D and Flavor Flav just never looked like they should be together. They never looked like they should even know each other, but it all worked for them.
Yeah, Chuck D's out here talking about righteousness while Flavor Flav's having crack cocaine fall out of his pockets.
It's just
all on stage at the same time.
One of the weirdest, coolest things ever was Public Enemy. And I referenced it earlier. I still wish I had gone to one of those Public Enemy Anthrax shows. I didn't get the chance to go. There was all sorts of stuff going on around that time, and I was unable to get to it. But I heard it was a hell of a cross-section of music fans.
That sounds genius.
When those two went on tour together, because they respected each other. It was Anthrax that dug Public Enemy first. Those guys grew up on Public Enemy. They loved it. They could recite you entire songs of PE stuff, and they loved it. And they did the cover of Bring the Noise, and then they just decided, well, why don't we go tour together? And they did. It was a great idea.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's crazy stuff. All right, so a little PE to get us started this hour. We got a lot to get to. Let's go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. We'll talk some Longhorns, Cowboys, and whatever else we can think of with Chip Brown, horns247.com. Check out the flagship podcast and check out that Morning Brew article. I'm sure he's been dealing with Chris Jackson in the last day or so. At Chip Brown 247 as well. Chip, how are you?
Chris Jackson, if you're nasty.
Yes, exactly. See, I thought of I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, and did like an Outcast thing. But either way.
I thought of Chris Jackson, the former LSU player that changed his name to Muslim.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was Chris. That Chris Jackson became, is that Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf?
I don't know. I was about to say Sharif Abdul-Rahim, and I know that's wrong.
Chip, am I right on that one?
Yeah, I think you got that right there.
That's and talk about badass shooters. Oh, my God.
He was a bad dude.
That dude could fill it up. Chip, what do we need to know about Chris Jackson? I've been trying to read up on him and kind of try to figure out, what's going on. From the Aggie perspective, I know he woke up my man Christian Kirk this year. What'd you make of this choice?
Yeah, how about Chris Jackson, man? This guy's like one of the all-time legends in arena football.
Yep.
He had over 1,000 catches in arena ball. I mean, you got to love football to be sticking around arena ball for 9 years in like 5 different teams. And he's like top 10 all time in arena ball in receptions to touchdowns ratio.
Wow.
32%.
Got a title, didn't he? At least one.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And that's where he came across Margin Hooks, who's one of the top receiver trainers in the state of Texas. He's trained, Jonte Cook, Evan Stewart, Isaiah Nair, and right now he's training Micah Hudson, the 5-star 2024 receiver, who is the Longhorns' top recruiting target at that position. So, his whole career has been in pro football. His whole coaching career has been in pro football. And so the question is, can he recruit? Well, if he's got a contact like Margin Hooks, that's a pretty good pretty good place to start. He inherits an even more talented receiver room with the addition of A.D. Mitchell from Georgia, which is still like this just lotto ticket transfer. I think A.D. Mitchell's really good, and for Texas to add him, and you're hoping Isaiah Nair is healthy from the ACL rehab, and so you've got you're starting to build that receiver room the way Steve Sarkisian likes it, where you've got multiple deep threats. You're really putting the safeties in conflict. You're putting outside linebackers in conflict, and then with another year in the Sarkisian offense for Quinn Ewers, he's able to process and digest and add two big targets in 6'3" Isaiah Nair and 6'4" A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, Chip, it must have taken a lot to get Chris Jackson out the NFL to come to college, and having a very deep wide receiver room like Texas does, that could get you to jump ship like he did. But let's talk about Jamal Finner a little bit, former LBJ coach. We know he did a lot of good things there at LBJ, taking them to state this past year and having some real good players coming out of the East Side. Now he's director of high school relations for Steve Sarkisian. What is he going to bring to this coaching staff? And even though he knows Austin, is he going to bring more with just his relationships and how he operates?
That's the key. That's the key, Zay, is how does he relate with all the other coaches around the state? And that's the key. I think, Sark has done a good job. Jeff Banks, they've done a good job of identifying, Chris Gilbert now, Jamal Fenner, the guys that can connect with, the coaches and earn their trust and helping to not convince a player, but just getting that seal of approval from a player's high school coach. And then, that high school relations position, being able to relate to players, to parents, because a lot of that is, hosting the kids on campus, just being there, being the resource at all times for the high school coaches, for parents of recruits themselves. It's a big time personality job. It's a connector job. So, it's exciting. It's exciting that, you're going with a high school coach from right here in Austin. Typically, Chris Gilbert came from Dallas, and, you probably think Dallas, Houston, but like you said, the talent in Central Texas is, has come so far with all the, all the programs in Central Texas seem to be rising, and, not just the iconic programs like Westlake and Lake Travis. You got Vandergrift now, so it's an exciting time.
No doubt. Talking with Chip Brown, horns247.com. Chip, I do want to get your thoughts on my Cowboys, but before we get to that mess, let me throw in another piece of good news first. Texas basketball beating Oklahoma State like that last night. What'd you think?
Yeah, this team, you trust them. You trust them in 10-point games. And heck, we haven't talked about that West Virginia game, where Tyrese Hunter's in the locker room. You got Dylan Dizu fouling out with 3:15 left. Marcus Carr gets called for the questionable foul. With 2:39 left, it results in 3 made free throws, and it's a 2-point game. And then they shut him out the rest of the way, and it's a no doubt about it win for Texas at West Virginia. Well, last night they controlled that game from start to finish, and really it I wrote about it today in the Morning Brew. Texas is the best free throw shooting team in the Big 12. At 75%. In conference games, they're at 82%. And in the final 4 minutes of games, they're at 86%. Wow. I mean, almost 87%. It's 86.7. And that's just amazing. And it's a bunch of different dudes. It's Timmy Allen, who's 7 of 8 in those situations. Brock Cunningham is 6 of 6. Carr is 24 of 28. Jabari Rice, 18 of 21 in the final 4 minutes of games. I mean, these guys they don't blink. They have confidence in those situations. Christian Bishop said, we got a lot of old dudes on this team, and we just look at each other and say, okay, it's time to lock it down. And they don't worry. There's not a guy that you send to the line that you cringe, really. I mean, it's across the board. They got dudes who can convert from the free throw line. I mean, I mentioned those guys, but you've also got Tyrese Hunter is 5 of 7 from the line in those situations. Arterio Morris, Dylan Mitchell haven't missed in those situations. So when you got 7, 8 guys who you can send to the line and feel good about, and that's rare. That's a special quality. Obviously Marcus Carr is playing at a high level. Timmy Allen's been playing with more confidence in those late game situations. And I think the big guys, I mean, Bob Donewald, give him some credit. He's really got Dezou and Bishop playing, and Dylan Mitchell's got a good motor, but they're playing faster. They're not just getting the ball and then bogging down. They're moving. They're getting the ball and moving and making good decisions. So they're a fun team to watch. And when you get in those late game situations, you trust them, and that says a lot because we're 2/3 of the way through the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chip, you're absolutely right. Just them being, the experience this team has, all the leaders that they have, guys, 6 years, 5 years of playing college basketball, that is huge. And you got to give love to Rodney Terry being 10-2 at the moment. But we know these next 4 games could determine how this season's going to go and how you're going to look when March comes around and where the committee's going to put you and your rankings and whatnot. You got to go to Knoxville and play Rick Barnes' crew, College Game Day, turn around, play Baylor. Then you might as well just stay in Kansas because you got to play against Kansas State and against the Jayhawks at Allen Fieldhouse. How do you think this team is going to look after these 4 games, and what are you expecting?
You know what? The fact that they're 3-1 on the road in the Big 12, and I get it. It's OU, it's Oklahoma State, it's West Virginia. It's not the teams you just mentioned. It's not. This Tennessee game is going to be fun. I mean, that's a great test, obviously, and that was a buzzer beater last year. You got to think that Tennessee is probably going to get them Saturday at 5. But the trip to K-State and Kansas is kind of reeling right now. I mean, K-State's been beat. So Texas has had good timing in facing, certain teams. And so who knows? But I'm really intrigued. Obviously, that's that game next Saturday, a week from Saturday at K-State. And then 2 days later, as you mentioned, you're in Lawrence. I don't know that they'll come home from that trip. And, Fog Allen Fieldhouse, I just know that this Texas team seems to like going on the road, and they don't get flustered. I mean, they got off to a nice start against Iowa State, even though they lost that game. They were up 10 early in that game, and I give Iowa State credit. They were trapping the ball and cranked up their defense in the second half. And but I think this Texas team will be ready, and they've shown they can crawl out of some interesting holes,
Yeah, they're going to go see what Knoxville's all about this weekend. That is going to be fun. UT at UT with the Big 12 SEC Challenge coming. This time Rick Barnes gets it on his floor facing Texas. Chip Brown.
Well, and the Volunteers defense is so good. I mean,
right.
They're number 2 nationally in points allowed, number 1 in field goal percentage defense and 3-point field goal percentage defense. So they're just locking people down. As we know, Rick Barnes, that's his deal. So let's see how Texas reacts.
All right, Chip, before we let you go, give me your thoughts on Cowboys-Niners 19-12. All the Cowboys needed was 20 to win that game, and they couldn't get it.
I mean, you just look at, Dak Prescott's contract, Ezekiel Elliott's contract, and then you look at their production and you say they don't add up. They don't equal.
Yeah.
And that's, I never, ever wanted Dallas to sign Dak to the big contract. I said franchise him twice and let him go. But Jerry doesn't draft young quarterbacks and develop them like New England does, and it's ridiculous. It makes no sense. When he had Tony Romo, he did the exact same thing. They continued to throw money at Romo, even though he was a 30-plus quarterback with a bad back, and then they throw all that money at Dak, and you reveal you can have a good rookie year. And then, when defenses have more time to prepare for you, everyone's like, oh, my God, Brock Purdy, he should be the guy in San Francisco. And you're like, slow down, I mean, he's in a great system. He's got a great defense. He doesn't have to do that much. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating that Dak Prescott can look that bad in a game that big. And Ezekiel Elliott, he doesn't do anything close to what Pollard gives you. And that's just, it's scary because you still got big money left on that Ezekiel Elliott contract. So unless, Jerry's going to make some moves and I just don't see it. And you just said it, 19-12. I mean,
yeah.
They're not that far away, but man, it feels like it. I mean, that defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl with, and you needed the offense to come through, and those turnovers were just brutal.
Yeah, felt so bad for Micah Parsons, but I thought he was a total pro in the locker room. He laid it out for what it was. He didn't call names out, but for the leader of that defense, Chip, to say, hey, we set it up, we kept him under 20, just couldn't make enough plays, man. My heart broke as a fan for him because that's what's been carrying that team all year, but that's they didn't necessarily always coach to that they had a badass defense. They kind of would coach in all different ways, so we'll see what happens to them moving forward. Real quick, you think the OC in D.C. Could possibly come back, or do you think Quinn and or Kellen Moore are going to get a job?
Well, let me ask you this, lifetime Cowboys fan. Would you get rid of Mike McCarthy to keep Dan Quinn and make him the head coach?
Yes. Yeah. Where do I sign? Because I need details on offense. I got a quarterback that needs details and needs to be coached with details, and the head coach and the OC don't want to do that. So, yes, I'd make that trade tomorrow.
Yeah, and I that's the only thing I think that Jera, could maybe get enticed into doing, because the defense was so good all year. You've got a superstar in Mike Parsons, and Quinn has helped make him a superstar. So I agree with you. I would do it too.
Yeah, we'll see what they end up doing now that they've got time to think about it. That's Chip Brown, horns247.com. He mentioned that Morning Brew article. Check that out every day. The flagship podcast is there for you at Chip Brown 247 as well. Chip, we appreciate it, man. Enjoy your week.
Okay, fellas. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Chip.
Good stuff as always. Also, speaking of that horns247.com crew, we've got the Longhorn Blitz podcast coming up for you tonight at 7 with Jeff Howe of horns247.com and Rod Babers and Matt Butler as they continue to break down Texas football. They've got a lot of things to talk about this week with the new wide receivers coach and what it could mean. 8 o'clock tonight is Fight Night. Check out hornfm.com. They got a contest for you to win some fight tickets. And at 9 o'clock, sports guys talking wrestling, getting ready for the Royal Rumble in San Antonio this weekend. So there's a lot going on with the Wednesday night lineup. Up next, it's Why Today Matters. We talked MVP earlier. We'll talk about some of the other awards. They've released the finalists. We'll get picks there, plus an update on Patrick Mahomes' situation and that foot. He has spoken on the matter. We'll tell you what he said on the Horn. This is Chad talking Apple leasing. Now that we're into 2023, you need to find out about those end-of-the-year selections at all the dealerships. Find out who's still got some stuff left over. Maybe who's already gotten rid of those 2022s and they're looking towards the 2023s. Or how does all that work? Well, Apple Leasing can help you out there because with the Easy Lease, they are going to go out and they'll look at your different options. You could be looking at, you got a Chevy option you like. You got a Toyota option you like. Oh, you know what? I heard about this Ford and I think it's pretty good, but only in this particular style and model. Hey, any make, any model, any car, any truck, and they'll go to each of those different options. They'll figure out what the rebates are. They'll figure out what those possible holiday, like the leftover holiday sales and year-end selection stuff and how it all works. They'll get you those different options, come back to you with them, and that way it saves you all kinds of time, saves you all kinds of legwork. They'll even save you that hassle of signing all the documents at the dealership. You do all that electronically. They get you the same discounts and incentives that the dealers do, but they'll keep the dealer hassles for themselves. You call 346-9977. Mention you heard about it here on the Horn, and they will help you out. 346-9977 or go to appleleasing.com. We're rolling through a Wednesday. Did I hear a little clue in there? Did I hear the word Paul in there?
I don't know if you heard that.
No?
You should have got a clue on one of the artists. You're not going to get this guy.
This guy I'm not getting in?
No.
Okay. All right, who is it?
I'll give you a hint.
Okay, I'll take a hint.
He's in the Wu-Tang Clan.
He's in the Wu-Tang Clan.
Who? Don't do it.
Okay. Now the guy I know best in the Wu-Tang Clan, you've told me, is not always out in front, because the guy I know the best in Wu-Tang Clan is RZA.
Yes,
the actor.
Correct. RZA does all the beats.
Right. He's in charge of the foundation.
Now this isn't a Wu-Tang beat, but it's a Wu-Tang artist. Now who's rapping now? You definitely know who that is.
And he's not in Wu-Tang.
This guy's not in Wu-Tang.
Okay.
You just guessed it right a few days ago.
Is that Nate Dogg
That's
again?
Nate Dogg, all right.
Okay. All right.
Now let's get back on the Wu-Tang.
All right. Nate Dogg and... Oh, see, I can't get the cool name out of my head, but it's not going to be him. Is it what's the badass name in there? Ghostface Killer.
Oh, man, from half court.
Is that him?
That's him.
Okay. All right. How about that? Ghostface Killer.
Wow.
See, that's just me loving a cool name.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
And I knew because I'm trying to learn, and I know you told me RZA was not out in front. So if I'm listening to a Wu-Tang song, and I know there's a lot. There's 9 guys in that band?
Yeah, 11 depends on how you look at it, I guess.
Do you call Wu-Tang a band? Is that what the
crew?
Crew.
Yeah.
I could say crew, and it won't sound as cool as when you say crew. I'm like, can I say crew? Am I
Yeah,
allowed
you
to
can
do
say
that?
crew.
Okay. 9 guys in the Wu-Tang crew, but in general, if I'm listening to a song, are there 2 or 3 where they're generally rotating among the same guys, or are we really spreading it out amongst 9 guys?
It's spread out.
Okay.
If you listen to the first album, 46 chambers or 48 whatever chambers, 36 chambers, 36 chambers, you'll get a little taste of everybody.
Okay.
Like Old Dirty Bastard, he has his songs, and Method Man.
See, that's the other one I might have guessed, but it didn't. I've heard enough to know that that's not what ODB sounds like.
Right.
He's a little rougher, right? The voice a little rougher.
Yes.
Yeah.
The most popular songs for Wu-Tang, in my opinion, have Method Man on the hooks.
Okay.
Like, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, y'all.
That's Method Man.
That's Method Man.
Okay. All right. Trying to learn. You are my rap professor.
Yeah, it's a process.
It really is.
It's a process.
It really is. But I have, I'm building up. I had a Nate Dogg ID this week. I had the Monica ID. That's not truly straight rap, but
that counts.
Had the
Monica gets played at the cookout, so that counts.
Okay, good, excellent. I'm working on it. I even got a metal one right today. I got Saxon right today. That was earlier in the show, along with Devo. We had James Brown and the JBs. Great tune with some cool horns in it earlier. We had U2 earlier, and now we got Nate Dogg and Ghostface Killer, one of my favorite artist names ever.
Somebody on the Specs text line said, "Damn, Dak, even your relationships get intercepted."
I'd say we don't know if that happened, but she is beautiful, so there may have been some sort of interception there. I hope Dak is doing well. I hope this is something that he wants and that they both want, and that they'll both move on. And
I hope he cut it off.
But dude, that's a long time. 2 years.
That's a long time. Like, that's rehab, Dak.
Especially to be that guy too, to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. You're out you're in the public eye so much. There's no hiding. There's no disguising anything. Your whole relationship is just out there for people to deal with. TMZ Sports, I'm sure, follows you everywhere. Like, it's just got to suck.
Yeah, if you're not making life better for me, and obviously issue in my career, off with your head. Gotta get rid of you. Yeah.
I do like the idea of the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys dating a hot blonde, though. I do.
Well, you just need that for your psyche.
I'm just saying, I feel like it fits.
Confidence.
I feel like it fits the profile. I just do. I don't know what it is.
So if Dak Prescott was dating Leslie Jones, you wouldn't be on board?
Actually, I would be on board with that because I know she would get him right. I know she would straighten him out. You picked the right person because she would straighten him out. That'd be
I love Leslie Jones. I'm just saying that's the complete opposite of blonde.
And from a social media standpoint, that would be the absolute worst person for a quarterback to be with because she'd put all the business out there. It would all be she'd do podcasts and live streams during games. It'd be terrible. Oh, my God. All the business would get out there. All right. It is January 25th. Let's get a little bit of why today matters. I'll get you a Patrick Mahomes update. Yes, indeed. Good news here. Patrick Mahomes seen today in the facility without a boot. He was asked about how he feels. He said AFC Championship week, ready to go. Says it's doing good. Done a few days of treatment, few days of rehab. Excited to get on the practice field and kind of test it out and see where I'm at. But it's feeling good so far. Zay, Andy Reid says he expects full practice from Mahomes today. That's great news for us football fans that just want to sit back and watch those two guys go at each other for a big hunk of history, possibly, if they can go get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, if you had to choose any quarterback in the National Football League that can deal with this type of injury and can go out there and still give your team the best shot of winning the game, especially under these circumstances, AFC Championship game, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
No doubt.
What you say about Joe Burrow and, Josh Allen, love those guys, especially Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, etc. The things that he's able to do on the football field, we've never seen before. Like, he was still running last week. Like, guys should be out the game for good. That should have been Chad Henne's game to finish. But Patrick Mahomes, being as good as he is, still being able to control the game on one leg, did that and was able to give his team the dub, 7-point win against the Jags. So you got to have him out there. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you got to love him not wearing no boot. And you got to think that's why Vegas put that line a little bit back on the Chiefs' way because they saw him walking with no limp. Zero limp, looking good, and kind of had a little pep in the step on his way out the door.
That's true. Let me double-check that line just to make sure, because you're right. It swung all the way to 1 earlier today, and it's Cincinnati by 1 still. Cincinnati still technically the pick there.
And they going to shoot him up before the game.
Oh, they will, man. I can't wait for it. We all know Joe Burrow's trying to build that new history in Cincinnati. Just another quick reminder of what Mahomes is trying to do. If he wins the Super Bowl this year, he'll only be the 13th starting quarterback to win multiple Super Bowls. That's 12 guys right now that are in that group. And, Zay, if they get this win, the Chiefs will become only the 10th franchise to win 3 or more. So he's trying to get the Chiefs notched up one more level, up into that Washington, Raiders. Who's the other with 3? Washington, Raiders, and somebody else have 3. And that's a different category. You got teams like Baltimore and Tampa and others that have a couple, and that's cool, but 3 is a different level. So he's trying to do that because right now he's living in Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, and Russell Wilson land. Got 1. Maybe should have 2 or whatever. Russell just hand the ball off. I get all that. Just 1.
Yeah.
The One Ring Club is where Patrick lives right now.
Yeah, you want to be with Elway and Ben Roethlisberger.
That is correct. Right. Both guys on that list. Guys have found multiple Super Bowls. And if you keep losing, especially if you keep losing to Burrow and Burrow starts building his thing, I got a text yesterday on the text line, Zay, and somebody says to us, hey, if he loses this, if Burrow beats him, we're going to have to start talking about him like we do Aaron Rodgers. That's not what Patrick wants. Patrick wants that different level where you're up into that world with the Manning brothers and Elway and Aikman and Montana and all those guys that have multiple rings.
Yeah, Bengals, they don't call it Burrowhead for a reason.
That's such a great name, by the way.
It's so dope. I love
brilliant.
that. The cocky-ass Cincinnati Bengals. But, yeah, they're going to go in there with a crazy amount of confidence, and they should be confident. Zach Taylor's crew, which we don't talk about him enough. we talk about Kyle Shanahan and what Nick Sirianni's doing and, et cetera, Andy Reid, but Zach Taylor getting his team to the Super Bowl for a second-year quarterback last year, now coming back this year around, had some slumps and downers at the beginning of the season. I think they lost to a Cooper Rush Dallas Cowboys team, which looking back at that, they're probably like, wow, how we lose to Cooper Rush in them? But that only made them stronger. They put on that double-digit win streak that they're still riding on, take care of their business in Buffalo last week, and did a lot of talking while doing that. So, yeah, I think Zach Taylor doesn't get enough credit, and he's done a hell of a job in Cincinnati.
No doubt about it. All right, real quick, we also talked about the MVP vote coming up. It's Allen, Burrow, Hurts, Jefferson, and Mahomes for the MVP. Let me throw another one out real quick, Zay. Coach of the Year, Brian Daboll, Doug Peterson, Kyle Shanahan. Those are your 3 finalists. You got a vote? You got a favorite?
If we're talking about to this point, it's Kyle Shanahan, but that's so much talent that he has down there. Brian Daboll, I think it's his to lose. I don't know how.
I think it might be him too.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's how bad Daniel Jones has been throughout his career. Like, now the Giants have a real problem. Do they sign Daniel Jones and keep it rolling? Because we saw the good with Daniel Jones against the Minnesota Vikings. And then we saw the bad with Daniel Jones and Lincoln Financial Field the other weekend. So they got some questions to answer with Saquon Barkley. I think it's Brian Daboll.
We'll get you a couple of those other award finalists and see what we think of those before we get out of here. Stems and Seeds coming up. Then we get you to Ball Don't Lie with Rod and Harge, and we'll set the Wednesday night lineup for you as well. And just keep it right here. It's a Wednesday on the Horn. Just about to wrap it up on a Wednesday. That's a great beat. I hope I know this one. That's Dre, right?
Yeah, that's Dre.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's really good. What's it called?
This is actually NWA, Appetite for Destruction.
Ah, okay. That's really good.
Yeah, off their 91 album that has the N-bomb in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right before Dre left. Cube wasn't here at this time.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Started the hour with a great Public Enemy beat. So NWA finishing us off. Nate Dogg and Ghostface Killah earlier in the hour. James Brown and the JBs. We had U2, Saxon, Devo. We've had it all today, as always. Thanks to Zay for all the great music. Thanks to Zay for getting us the interview with Stony Point head coach Antoine Thompson. We're going to get that posted for you later in the afternoon. He was great, and that team is pretty damn good. They're going to Round Rock. For you Dragon fans, go out and support your Round Rock Dragons. They may need all the help they can get when the Stony Point Tigers come to town. That one is Friday at 7, flxatx.com for your full schedule. Going to be an interesting game.
Yeah. Last time they played, Round Rock lost, and Stony Point didn't have Josiah Mosley.
Oh.
So that should just show you how good Stony Point is.
Interesting. I got to check the schedule. I'm going to check the schedule with my wife and see if maybe there's maybe get a little past the Round Rock.
Check it out.
Maybe head over there towards Dragonland on Friday. All right, let's get you stems and seeds. We'll see if we can figure out more of these NFL awards. Here we go.
No stress, no seeds, no stems, no sticks.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678 or avconsultations.com. All right, Zay, we've hit some of the big ones. How about Offensive Player of the Year? Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes.
I'll give it to Jalen Hurts. Since Patrick Mahomes probably get MVP.
I might lean that way, too. Defensive Player of the Year, Bosa, Chris Jones, Micah Parsons. Bosa's?
Yeah, Nick Bosa.
Probably Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. Comeback Player of the Year, Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, Geno Smith.
Geno Smith.
I agree. I've heard people picking one of those running backs. I like Geno, too.
Geno Smith. He was breaking Seattle Seahawks records that Russell Wilson wasn't even breaking.
Dude, he had, at one point, for a big hunk of the year, he had the best passer rating in the league.
Yeah, it's Geno.
I agree. We did Coach of the Year. That's Dayball, Peterson, and Shanahan. Zay's kind of leaning Dayball there, and I think I agree with him. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Zay, Brock Purdy, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson.
Bias, Garrett Wilson.
There you go. Let's get the Lake Travis product a little love, shall we? Garrett, we're going with you. We hope you get it. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson, Tariq Woolen of Seattle. Is this one close? Because midway through the season, it was Sauce. Is it still him?
It's still him. He was first team All-Pro this year.
Because those two other guys are badasses, but I think it's Sauce Gardner, too.
He was first team All-Pro this year.
That's silly.
As a rookie.
But you know what? Shout out to both those other two guys. Hutchinson has balled out this year.
Hutchinson's good.
That Woolen kid is kind of out of nowhere awesome. Yeah. I don't think they expected him to be that.
So when the Jets played the Seahawks toward the end of the season, there's a great mic'd up video with Woolen and is it Woolen or?
Yeah, Woolen. W-O-O-L-E-N.
Yeah, with Woolen and Sauce Gardner, and they're just chopping it up about, man, we respect each other. I respect what you do. And Sauce Gardner's like, likewise, because both of those guys are bigger corners, around 6'3". And you got to love that. Just the respect and competitive nature of guys like that. Both of them really good.
Dude, I love that's my kind of corner right there. Big, tall corners. That's what I want. Give me those.
Steve Sarkisian wants to bring down here.
Yep. Give me those condors at corner and safety. I love it. Assistant Coach of the Year, Ben Johnson of the Lions, D'Amico Ryans of the Niners, Shane Steichen, whatever it is, of the Eagles. That's D'Amico, right?
D'Amico Ryan.
Got to be. If you were the Texans, would you hire him? Would he be your guy?
Nope. Last two brothers that were there got fired.
Oh, how? Come on.
What you mean?
Lovey
was there for one season. Be careful. If you are Black American and you are interviewing in Houston, just keep that in the back of your mind.
Dude, that's D'Amico Ryans. I think that might be a great, great fit for them. I read a good article in the Houston Chronicle. They laid it out. They think he is the fit. I'm interested to see what they do.
I do like D'Amico Ryans.
I'd be a little worried as a Cowboys fan that they might actually drag themselves out of it if they go with him.
Now, I'm salty that Dan Quinn ain't even up for consideration. What are we doing?
Oh, yeah, that's fair. All right, Ball Don't Lie coming up. We'll be back tomorrow for a Thursday show. See ya!